Hello, hello, my silky friends. How are you doing? Okay, yeah. Samantha says it's storming where she's at. It's not storming here. I thought it was going to, but I'm having some weird issues with StreamYard tonight. So I don't know. And it's not everything on here that I know is happening is not accurate. So if I miss saying hello to you, it's because it's StreamYard's kind of puking too. Daniel Barry, hello, hello. How are you? We got the fuzz again. Samantha Springman, Lorna Doone, how are you? Um, yeah, I, there's a lot of competition tonight. Like, I have to do this when I can do it. So let me just bring up everybody because I am super excited for the lovely guests that we have. Welcome, Brain Bungler. Hold on. Let me get it where we're all here. Brain Bungler. There he is.
Hello. How is everyone? Oh, my bad.
No, that's fine. Say whatever you want.
I didn't mean to cut you off. That's all.
You can do a song and dance. I don't care.
I don't think I'll be doing either. At least not yet. The night's young.
Okay, welcome, Colton. You can do a song and dance
Hello.
too. I don't care.
I'm fine as well.
Am I the only one up for a song and dance? I don't know.
Let's see it. Go ahead.
And Jamboree. Wait a second. Hold on. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. I was saying I might do a song and dance later, but not right now.
Okay.
I'm excited to see it.
Stay tuned.
I think me and Jam are the only ones up for a song and dance. Yeah, it's hot. It's hot here. Hot, hot, hot. But also the topic is hot, hot, hot. I don't know are y'all familiar, or is this going to be? I kind of want to know, even though I can't see all the comments. How many people are familiar at all with Sonya Massey and that ridiculousness that's going on?
I am mildly familiar. I saw the footage and I saw that he was fired, I guess, but I don't understand. Like, I don't know why he did it. I don't know I didn't see like the conversation leading up to it. I just saw like, how the news would chop it up, just the event itself. And it was really weird to see him do that because it didn't like it was very unbalanced, his reaction to what was happening. So I don't know.
Yes, it was. And we're going to talk about what we think escalated. But the more it goes on, there's like more and more info coming out, even up to a few hours ago.
Really?
Yeah. A lot. And some of it is like speculation. But that's okay. We can speculate as long as we do it intelligently. What about you, Colton? Have you seen or heard anything about Sonya Massey?
Yeah, somewhat.
Okay, what is everybody? Let's take and Jam. Have you seen Sonya Massey?
No, I haven't seen anything. The extent of my knowledge is us talking about it earlier, and you kind of told me what happened, but I haven't seen any of the footage or anything like that.
Okay, so you're kind of new. All right, let's just get this out of the way because I'm going to probably ask some hard questions a little bit later, but what are your initial your initial thoughts on any initial thoughts before we really start diving into it?
Yep, it's messed up, fam.
Yeah, messed up. He should have. Yeah, it should be way worse than just losing your job. I hope he goes to jail or something. No matter what the situation was, I think his reaction was very extreme.
Yeah. And, I didn't realize the family, because you would think I only just started hearing about this case, but this actually took place on July 6th. And it was, even the family were not told the truth in the beginning. So, yeah, it looks really, really bad. And you know what's really interesting about this case is you've got complete lack of following police protocol. And then you also have it's like a mixed bag. You have a little bit of mental health issues. You have potential that where they potentially tried to cover it up in the beginning. And then you also have a religious aspect, and of course the big one, the racial aspect. So like there are so many things in this sus cake that it's like, there's so many ingredients. Oh, y'all don't know about the sus cakes. Oh, hold on. Let me just show you. I that's what I call it when it's a big mess. Here we go. There you go. It's tea and sus cake served hot.
That seems a little inappropriate considering the gravity of the context of what we're talking about. But
yeah, it's kind of just like an intro thing, but yeah, it is. This is very, very grave. And let me get back up to the comments. So let's start at the beginning. And we're gonna kind of dig into it the way that I saw it to start with, which is, you're kind of like, what happened? Let me see. Let me go ahead and put us over here. Wait a second. Most of these videos are very short, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and share this one. Hold on. I say that, but StreamYard is not letting me. Why is it not? There we go. I don't know what's going on, y'all. It's crazy around here. All right. Let me pull this up. Yes, it should have a trigger warning.
I heard somebody outside.
Yeah, we checked your house. We checked your backyard. I walked all the way through all these backyards. We checked your front yard.
We didn't see nobody.
Yeah,
So.
nobody's out here.
You didn't see anybody?
Nope.
Nope.
Oh,
We checked the whole area.
okay.
What took you so long to answer the door?
Oh, I was trying to put on some clothes, sir. I'm sorry. I was trying to get
I got you.
dressed.
All right. Is there anything else we can do for you?
Huh?
Is there anything else I can do for you?
No, sir.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
You doing all right mentally?
Yes.
Sure.
My medicine and stuff.
All right. Okay.
I love y'all. Thank y'all.
All right. That's not your black car though. The SUV? Whose is it? You don't know? Someone just parked it in your driveway?
They brought it to my driveway.
And just left it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know where my ID is.
You see that stack right there, maybe?
1 second.
Check on her.
Let me look this.
We don't need a fire while we're here.
Right. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Where you going?
Huh?
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
I
Rebuke you in the name of
You
Jesus.
better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot! Drop the pot! Drop the
19 shots fired.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Drop the pot! Bring EMS now. We got a headshot wound to the female. Headshot wound to the female. 1078.
I was on. I'm gonna go get my kit.
No, if you headshot, bitch, you're done. You can go get it, but that's a headshot.
God.
Yeah, I'm not taking boiling water to the head. And look, it's right to our feet too. God. You good? Okay. Well, I mean, what else do we do? I'm not taking hot boiling water to the face, and it already reached us.
They got a 52 en route.
Yeah, 1078. Very good. She's still breathing, but she's losing a lot of blood from the head. I'll go get my med kit.
Go get, yeah, hurry, get your med kit.
I mean, there's not much we can do.
We can at least try and stop the blood. She's still gasping a little bit.
We got EMS coming. House is clear. She was the only one.
Where's the gun?
No, she had boiling water and came at me with boiling water.
You shot her?
Yeah. She said she was going to rebuke me in the name of Jesus and came out with boiling water. That's what all this is. I'm standing right here.
Alright.
And that's where she's landed.
Okay. Initial thoughts now.
Go ahead.
He said that she was coming at him. I don't know. Based on the video, at first I kind of thought the first time she said it, I thought it was kind of like a joke, maybe. But either way, I feel like when he's explaining it to the other police officer, he's making it seem like she was a threat when she's clearly not in the video.
Bungler?
That was difficult. Okay, so I had seen, I guess, just like this slice of the event and them having spoken for like a few seconds before. I cannot comprehend how just the level of immediate escalation. Like, like I said, I can't comprehend it. I can't wrap my head around what makes a person react that quickly. All right, like even pulling your weapon that quickly. Okay, that's a lot. Okay, but at that point, like, there's so many things that you could do. First of all, it's water. It is water. It's hot, but it's water. So you get what? It's not acid even, but whatever. They're separated by an island. There's several feet between them. If she would have to go around to like actually do anything. All right. So, as soon as the weapon was drawn, it crouches, which means also, by the way, if you're crouching, the distance that you could even throw water from a pot, for all small woman, by the way, is incredibly short. So what I'm trying to wrap my head around is, what was he afraid of? Why did he have that reaction? Because anyway,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to parse through that.
Right. We're going to talk about that. And let me before we even get any further, because Colton has worked the past year in law enforcement. Tell me, what are your thoughts? I mean, you're used to dealing with, criminals. Although I would not call her a criminal, but that's, what do you think?
Well, it didn't just happen, so he's already been charged with or indicted on 3 counts of first-degree murder. And
okay,
battery.
All right, but I mean, yeah, we're going to get there. Like, just watching the video, what we just watched, what is your reaction? I mean, do you think, how he handled it, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, yeah, he clearly just like wanted to kill somebody. I mean, she had called someone because there was somebody, a prowler outside their home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't know if it was a gang member or a rapist or something, So,
yeah. But
don't know. I mean, it
knowing,
was
kind of being familiar with police protocol and escalation and stuff like that, is there anything that stands out to you?
yeah, I just well,
And somebody
come,
said,
come back to me. I don't want to say too much.
okay, well, all right. I didn't mean to cut you off either. I just wanted to keep it right here because that's how I saw
Yeah,
it. In the very initial, okay,
yeah.
my first time looking at this police cam. By the way, the guy that why can't I think of his name? It was just up there. The shooter, the officer that shot her, did not have his body cam on until after the event. So he went up, and all of the body cam footage we see is from the other officer, which I thought was a little bit
Yeah.
suspicious.
Also, when after he shot her, he was like, "What was I supposed to do? Like, what else was I gonna do? Like,
A
Anything
million
else.
other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even take the water, like just eat it. Just take the water, you know? I don't mean like, but just get hit. But it's water.
Yeah.
At most, you will get like, it will, cause boils and skin damage. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's a person on the other side of the trade. Especially at that distance.
Well,
Now, if they're like,
exactly,
go ahead.
well, that's not really how it works. I mean, like, all right, if there's like a cop and someone's chasing them with a baseball bat, are they supposed to like, like pick up a stick and try to fight them back? Like, or, what I
No.
mean? I mean, technically, like, there definitely could have been measures to, like he probably has a taser on him too, or like
Yeah.
pepper spray or something.
we were talking about
He
that
could
earlier."
have used first.
Yeah.
Even
Right.
just exiting the home.
Right.
He has a lead. She has to traverse. She's carrying a pot of water, which is pretty heavy if you've ever held one. She's also kind of frail, and she's separated by an island, and he's near the door. Just back up.
Right.
And if you're that afraid, you can see what she's holding. She's not brandishing a weapon out of a with a tail or something that you would come and surprise you. You can see what she's holding and where her hands are. So move backward. I don't understand what anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, and the fact that they were separated by the island, and when he took the shot, she was crouched down. Even if she had thrown the water, it would have just hit the counter, maybe the top of the counter if it splashed up. Nowhere near him at that point. Nowhere near him. And so yeah.
I do wonder. I am curious. There was a moment where the order of events was he drew his weapon because he was threatened by her rebuking him or whatever. And she crouches, and there's a few moments that pass. And then there is some catalyst, like a ignition, right? That like she either moved or something in a way that he decided to go. Now again, it's absurd, the whole situation. But I'm curious what he saw that made him decide to go ahead and go through with his action.
I mean, which we haven't gotten there yet, but I don't think he saw anything, in my opinion.
Okay. I really don't want to watch the video a million times. It's incredibly disturbing. But there's a moment where right before there are shots, both the officers almost flinch, like they move a bit.
Yeah, and I wanted to let me go back there, and I am actually going to slow this down. Wait. Hold on, let me make this. Let me see if I can set it. Why can't I set the... I watched this and I watched this whole thing. I guess it's just different settings. I can't get the... Oh, because it's not YouTube. Okay. I watched this in slow motion several times, but let me go back to. Yeah, I don't want to watch. I don't usually watch the part in the kitchen. Once she's been shot, but I did want to show the whole thing. Okay. Oh, come on. Okay. So, I mean, I have seen the longer part of the footage where she's sitting on the couch rummaging through her purse. But see, he also, and I don't know if this showed it, he also tells her there's a pot on the stove and he doesn't want the house to be on fire. Okay, let me
Yeah,
back
real
it up
quick, just want to point something out. Why didn't just the other officer go turn the burner off? I mean, isn't that an option?
I kind of wondered that too. She was sitting on the couch,
If
why didn't he say, I'm going to just go turn the water off on the stove?
If the psychology is to be followed and the officers were, concerned or they felt threatened or they were even uncomfortable, they are the officers. In this situation, they have control. They can tell her to not move and just stay seated. It's not like it's the same as if someone got out of their car after a traffic stop. That's a very threatening action, but they just allowed it. Why don't have neither of them ever seen a burner before? Are they afraid they might mess it up or something? It's just weird to me that she even needed to get off the couch in the first place. But anyway,
it is. Let's see.
1 second.
Check on her. We don't need a fire while we're here.
Okay, he said, did you hear that? He tells her about the thing. He said, we don't need a fire while we're in here.
yeah,
Okay.
and he's standing, and the officer with the cam on is standing closer than she is, and he has to move to allow her to pass. It's just whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway.
he should have just said, hey, do you mind if I turn the burner off?
Yeah, I mean, really.
Okay. Okay. Listen to this. I'm going to run it back 10 seconds. I think, now, I don't know if she poured it all out, but listen, because I feel like I hear a splash in the sink.
Yeah, it sounds as though it's being poured.
Yeah. See that? Does everybody hear that splash, or am I imagining things?
I hear it.
Okay. So and he's a lot taller, okay? So, and he can see over there. So if he sees, in my opinion, he sees her pick up the pot, go to the sink, and at least pour a big majority of it, if not all of it, out. So he watched her pour it out. So that hot water is no longer a threat.
Nope.
Okay,
I mean,
so
maybe, dude, I don't know, man. Like, maybe she pours out enough of it to where the pot would be lighter, and so the remaining water that was boiling might have been easier to throw or something. Right? I've said it before. I mean, I really hate being the devil's advocate in a situation like this, but I'm just trying to figure out, like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, the other side, like, what happened, like, like, to put myself in that situation and to think maybe somehow, there are unseen events or whatever people aren't talking about,
yeah.
I don't know, man. But I don't know. Then again, too, watching like how he reacts, it's hard to think that he has that kind of like cognitive awareness that he would think, oh yeah, she has more range now or something. Because even if she did, it's water. It's hot water. Okay, I
mean, yeah, and
if
I'm not
thrown,
trying
it immediately cools
play
as it
devil's
disperses.
advocate.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, technically, you could be very hurt by boiling water. But
Yes,
the
but-
fact is, she is crouched down. She's not standing there doing this, like saying, or even threatening, or even still holding it up here where she could throw it across the room. She is literally down in the floor.
Yep.
And I think there was, if there was any water in there, it was very little, because it sounds to me like she poured it in the sink.
Yep.
Anybody else want to say something before I go back to there?
I mean, just the main thing being like, when he pulled out his weapon, she was crouched down, like she was not a threat at all. And like Brain Bungler said, like there's a couple minutes or a couple seconds where like he has his weapon drawn and she's in the floor and something happens in between them to make him shoot. But I mean, it's clear, like, what could she have done?
Yeah. Like, what was that action? What was the moment that...
Right. And when you listen... And we're going to let... that one that we watched first is the most graphic, okay? The other ones do show it, but there's other things. And you will also hear her at one point in another one of these videos, you will hear her say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And he still pulls his gun. All right, I'm going to go back to that for just a second. And we're going to watch a little bit more.
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Okay, she repeats. She asked why he stepped back, and he said, you know, she repeated what he said, oh, from the hot streaming water. Then she says, I'll rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Now, let me back this up for just a second again, because I want you to watch. When I tell you I watched this video a lot, I did. Okay, see, he's standing right there. Now, his arms are out where he could reach, you know, his handcuffs, his gun, his, I assume on the other side of him is a taser, but he's standing down, okay, right now. He's ready, because you always have to be alert in these situations. You never know what's going to happen. But
Right.
his hand is not on his weapon. Not on his weapon, not on his weapon.
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Okay,
I rebuke you in the name of
You better
okay.
Yeah, so...
When she said, I'll rebuke you in the name of Jesus, his hand is now on his weapon.
Yeah. I mean, I find that really bizarre. Like, how did he hear that? Right? How did he take that? What happened?
And also, that's not, I feel like saying that isn't necessarily meaning like I'm gonna throw this boiling water on you. Like, whether she
Definitely
was,
not.
right.
I mean, you kind of have to wonder. Now, there is stuff on both sides. There's a lot to this story, okay? It's not just, I mean, you have to know some of the backstory and some of the history. I mean, it's not as 100% as cut and dry as this, and the more information that comes out, it's like, okay.
Hello?
Are you guys, is Tom frozen for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he?
We're probably going to need to take a second.
Yeah.
I wonder if she...
Well, I guess in the meantime, we can continue to chat.
Suppose so. Oh, give me a second.
Well, we're all still live.
Yeah. I don't know how that works. I thought that she's the host. What a situation to be in. Well, a couple of people said hello to all of us. I'd like to say hello. Well, okay. Now, how does that work? Now, who's the host? Well, hey, everybody. Sorry about the technical difficulties. There were a couple before starting. I don't know what point exactly she was trying to get to, so I don't know where to cut off. But I do, again, find it interesting what happened to the man when she said that. All right, you're back and you're clear. You have audio?
Okay, so we didn't go completely off stream.
Just you.
Okay, I did. And I was going to say it should. By the way, if y'all that have channels, you can live stream. There should be a button at the right-hand side where you can stream to your own channel at the same time. If you want to do that. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so where did we
Silky,
Yes, my gremlins.
Yeah, you forgot to put those gremlins in the cage before you started.
Exactly.
Be careful with those things.
That's weird.
We were talking about, I think the last thing that was mentioned was how he heard what she said, and then at that moment he had put his hand on his firearm, or which is a weird statement, because her demeanor, by the way, it didn't change. Like, she had been speaking in the same tone.
Sorry.
She'd been speaking in the same tone and the same candor throughout the night, throughout like all the interactions. It didn't to me sound as if she had raised her voice. She didn't sound aggressive. It was almost as if it was just the words that she said. And at first he almost couldn't hear it. So, and then of course, you know, you can hear how like immediately aggressive he is. I'll shoot you in the face, with several expletives, by the way.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, all of a sudden.
For what?
Yeah.
You know?
For this escalated. Yeah, let me get back to where this is.
No, that's where I got. I'll fucking shoot you right in your face.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, look, she's standing there. She is not threatening him at all. Okay, he draws his weapon for whatever reason. Just after she says, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," he draws his weapon. Let me go back 10 seconds.
Water.
Away from my husband in the water.
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
I
I rebuke you in the name of
You better not. That's where I got.
Oh yeah. So he asked. So that's the strangest thing to me, is that he asked. Like, he had to get clarification on what she said,
Yeah.
but he was already like feeling attacked, which is weird because again, she didn't, you know, put a hand up, make a movement. You know, she didn't. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like I don't know.
Exactly.
I've never been in that situation. I don't know if there's like a string of words that would make me, like, if someone said it calmly, especially knowing that she's not, like, you know, necessarily a threat. Again, like, this isn't someone that you should ever feel afraid of, really. I mean, unless you see a weapon or you have seen some particularly erratic behavior. But from my understanding and all that I've seen is that she seemed a little out of it, you know, like, she just seemed to, like, maybe she's been living alone for a long time, and that she, you know, when asked like direct questions, because, you know, they come there with a directive, with a mission to get information, find out what's going on, you know, and she's just taking a little bit longer to respond, but she's not giving them like absolutely off the wall crazy answers. You know, she's not, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just that she's a little slow, kind of. And, so again, I in what world is this person like threatening to the degree where you need a weapon? Like, you know, look at the size difference, even.
Right. I mean, even if she had screamed it, and I'm going to get, hey, Samantha, we're going to get actually there. There's a lot more to this story. We're going to get there. But yeah, even if she had screamed it, she's across the room. Look how many feet. There's at least
Several.
2 of him. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, okay, even if she had screamed, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," she's still just screaming. You know, even if that had been the case, she does not have a weapon equal to a gun or even close to it.
Nope.
Go ahead.
Huh?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
I just said no. Yeah, she doesn't. There's nothing threatening about this situation in any physical sense. Psychologically, even, there's no reason to. I mean, yeah, you know, he could be, you know, a loose cannon type of guy. He could, like, you know, But even in that case, there has to be an event that rises that escalates the tension of the interaction between the two of them. And obviously this has to be that moment, but there is no. Why is this that moment? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it goes from a more or less routine, semi-friendly chit chat. She's getting stuff out of her purse. He says, "Hey, you got some water on the stove. Let's not catch the house on fire."
Right,
it goes
right.
from very calm to absolute insanity in just a matter of seconds. I'm like,
And the way that she said it was calm. That's the thing that's so irritating. It wasn't aggressive. There was nothing going on. It's like she said it with the same candor that you would say, "Do you want me to make you some eggs or something?" Like it's like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
she
statement
did.
itself could be slightly pointed, you know what I mean? Like, but I mean, it's difficult for me to understand why she said that also, but I don't know. It's weird.
Well, yeah, and we're going to talk about people's theories
Yeah, well,
about
let's-
why
let's-
she said that.
Let's
But
go
yeah,
ahead and
let me.
continue.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the talk.
You just swap it over.
Okay, so
No, that was on us. You need to swap to the video.
oh, okay.
That's fine.
Sorry about that.
All good.
All right, let me go back just a second.
I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
I
Rebuke you in the name
You
of
better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
I mean, she just says that I'll rebuke you in the name of Jesus, and he all of a sudden, you're right. He starts using expletives,
Okay, I'm sorry.
draws his weapon.
Talk the drop the talk.
Okay. Now, this guy on the right, he also has his weapon drawn, but probably, I'm assuming, in response to just hearing the officer on
knowing
the
that-
left.
Right, knowing that his partner is already. But I mean, you can even see in this still shot here that he is in the act of taking it out, and he's very apprehensive. It's not particularly trained. The man on the left, his name, I don't even want to talk about. I don't even want to remember his name. But whatever. He is like 100 yards ahead of his partner. You know what I mean? That's another strange
Yeah.
thing, is that they're not at all like threatened at the same time. It's like this man is exploded, and this dude is like just trying to react to the situation
Yeah.
he's watching unfold in front of him. Where moments ago they were on the same force, they were the same unit, and then all of a sudden this man is just haywire. But anyway.
Well, yeah, and I mean, just in training, your partners, you're trained to cover your partner. So when he realizes that his partner pulls a gun, he doesn't even
Right.
understand the imminent threat, but he's seeing his partner with the gun, and he is gonna be backup. That's just training.
Of course.
And so, but you can see the officer on the left is tall enough to see that over the stuff on the counter. You can't even see her anymore. She is in the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
15 shots fired.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
I'm going to go back because at one point she says, I'm sorry, but I didn't hear it.
Face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the talk.
Okay.
Talk.
I heard her say it once then. Did y'all?
Yes,
Yeah, of course. There's
Go ahead.
I wanted to say that when he pulls out his weapon and he says that he's gonna shoot her, like I feel like I see for a moment like she's kind of like she pauses, like she's shocked, like she's like she wasn't expecting that, and then when he pulls it out, she's immediately like, okay, I'm sorry, and she gets on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me look at let me actually do this for just a second. Let me run it back.
Rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
I
Rebuke you in the name
You
of
better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the talk. Drop the talk. Drop.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play any more of
no.
that.
You know what the most tragic part of this is to me, at least in that moment, is that he had already made up his mind, and you can see that there was nothing at that moment that she could have done differently that would have altered his decision. And that is the thing that's so disgusting to me, is that after hearing her say that, I guess his mind was made up, because she's in the floor, she's crouching, she's apologized, she's holding or not holding a pot.
Yeah.
But even the amount of time where he leans around the counter, it was only the amount of time that it would have taken him to identify whatever a target or aim or anything like that. And not for nothing, but he also guaranteed that he aimed for the head, which is also
right. Why would you do that? Why would you aim for the head?
It is 100% intent to kill, which is there's nothing else that she. I mean, it's like crazy if she was crazy or not. That's like, you know, it just was a hopeless situation on her end, and that is it's just straight up very sad. So
yeah. Any additional thoughts, Colton? You're so quiet.
I know you guys pretty much covered all that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to come back to you for some facts. Okay. I know you've got stuff pulled up where I wanted to let everybody who does not know about this case understand this. Now, let me tell you, there is a lot more to this story. When the family got there, they were not told that she was unalived by a deputy. They thought, because they were told that they were responding, like, because, you know, the family's like, look, you know, what are y'all doing here? Like, you know, what happened? And they were told that they had responded to a call about somebody being outside the house, that she was scared. And there's more stuff. We're going to hear her call. But they thought that she had been unalived by the intruder. Like someone had broken in her house, and in the process, she, you know. And then the second thing that they heard, which was rumor, but they heard also people saying she had unalived herself. It was way after the fact that the family found out. So from the very beginning, the cops were not honest. They were not saying, oh, there was an accident. She was they didn't even lie and say she was resisting. She was threatening us. She was whatever. They never told the family that they were involved in her death at all.
Because any reasonable person, aside from the one who drew his weapon, is very aware of how overwhelmingly absurd everything unfolded was.
Yes.
And I mean, we're literally just lucky that there was body cam footage at all, because otherwise this would have been spun in some ridiculous falsified statement.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, because if the family had not found out, they would have thought, okay, I don't know what kind of area she lives in. I don't know if it's a bad area, but they would have thought, okay, there was, you know, a shootout. Somebody was trying to break in. You know, this is a horrible, tragic, you know, a horrible tragedy. Not, this is a crime from the police department. Now, I don't blame the guy on the right at all, because I mean, I think he was just reacting to an unknown, what, you know, he thought, well, I'm sure in his head he thought there must be some threat because my partner has now pulled a gun. And but anyway, let me pull another video. Like I said, none of these, one of them is long, but I'm not playing all of it.
Sure, but so what's this one about? Or what's the context?
I think this one is a 911 call. Let me back this all the way up. Hold on. Okay. Let me see. Well, okay.
Harrowing, newly released recordings in the deadly police shooting of Sonya Massey. She's the Illinois woman killed by a sheriff's deputy earlier this month after calling for help about a possible prowler at her home. The recordings obtained by CBS News include a 911 call from Massey's mother pleading for non-combative officers to be sent to her daughter's home. CBS's Charlie DeMar now with the disturbing new developments. We do want to warn you, the video report is disturbing.
I heard somebody outside.
911 calls and dispatch audio are giving the fullest look yet at what happened to Sonya Massey on July 5th and 6th. Records appear to show she was experiencing a prolonged mental health episode. Her mother, Donna, called for help.
The mental people told me to call 911.
That was at 9:09 a.m., 16 hours before she was shot.
Please don't send no combative policemen that are prejudiced, please. They're scary. I'm scared of the police. Sometimes they make the shit worse.
Then Massey herself called 911 just before 1 p.m. and called again early the next morning after she heard what she thought was a prowler outside her home.
I keep hearing stuff on the outside of my house, and it sounds like somebody was banging on the side of my house. I don't know. Oh, could y'all come and see?
Officer Sean Grayson and his partner were dispatched. The encounter with police escalated quickly. Body cam video clearly captured Officer Sean Grayson shooting Massey in her kitchen.
Headshot wounded the female. Headshot wounded the female. Units on scene are 1078, shots fired.
But later, dispatchers can be heard saying they were told Massey died due to a self-inflicted wound.
They're now saying self-inflicted.
The Massey family accuses the department of trying to cover up the cause of her death by claiming it was a self-inflicted gunshot.
He needs to go to jail for life. I don't want to see him in public ever again, honestly.
The Sangamon County Sheriff says former Deputy Sean Grayson admits to the shooting at least twice on body camera video and that there was never any confusion over how Sonya Massey died, and nor the department also denying those claims of a cover-up.
Just a little bit more context, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Do you have anything else? Do you have some anything else to show us?
I do. I have. Let's see.
I wanted to say that I think it's really sad that in the original call, like she was saying, like she was already scared of the police.
Yeah.
Right. I that's one of the reasons I pulled up that one, is because, you know, her mom, and you're going to find out she did have some mental health issues. But again, it gets deeper. There's now more things are coming out. So like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong. My chat is frozen. I don't know if y'all can see anything, but I can't see anything past like 15 minutes ago. It just stopped. I don't know what to do about it. So I don't mean to be ignoring y'all in chat. I literally can't see anything. But yeah, that was one of the things. I mean, her mom called and said, please, you know, make sure that you send, you know, non-prejudice, which is terrifying to me, you know, and I realize I'm white, but, you know, it's terrifying to think that people have to say this on a 911 call because they're afraid to just call the police, you know?
Right.
This is beyond...
And I feel like a lot of people like downplay, like when people say that they're scared of the police, like they're like, oh, you know, like you've just seen too many things online and like whatever. But it's really, really sad that it had to happen that way when she knew it was a possibility.
Yeah. I don't know much about the situation that could have led to. She mentioned that the mental health people told us to call 911. I don't know what that context really means. I don't know what the intended purpose was.
In some of these, in some of these videos, and I've got so many, and I watched so much today, but she did. She was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, and earlier in the day, actually, you find out that they think it was actually the same officer, the one that shot her, was called out earlier. She was hearing things. I don't know if it was something like knocking on the wall or whatever. She was hearing something. She had, oh my gosh, there's a lot, but just because you have paranoid schizophrenia, I mean, can you be violent? Yes, you can. But she was not in that state. You know, clearly, she was just in the kitchen getting a pot of water off the stove. So there was nothing to, even if her mind was confused, and I wonder if that's why she said what she did. Or, I mean, because there is a religious aspect that goes with a lot of mental illness. Like, it's very confusing. Like, they believe in Jesus and stuff like that, but they kind of mix the religion up into their mental issues. So was she saying that? Or, I mean, and we're going to talk about maybe that wasn't it either. But she apparently had most likely met this policeman before, and they were called out earlier. So this is the second call of the day, but it's like almost midnight when they're called out. They had been in there, been there early in the morning. My understanding is she had gone to the hospital, been released, and because she was having an episode, but she seems calm. She's just hearing things. I'm gonna go, and this one. Okay, this is the long one, so let me pull this up to 15 minutes, because it tells you a little bit about Sonya Massey. And I just wanted to give her backstory, or
Give
some
your
of
GoDaddy
it.
managed WordPress hosting
And
a
we've got the
boost with
commercials.
AI. Just answer a few questions.
Okay.
Was asked for the first time to share who
All right.
Sonya Massey was. Sonya was the daughter of
we
Donna
can't.
Massey and James Wilburn. She was the mother of 2 children.
Okay.
You haven't swapped to the
And had
video yet.
Hold on. Oh. Sorry. I do so much with it while I'm on there. Okay, let me back it up just a second. Okay.
Sonya was the daughter of Donna Massey and James Wilburn. She was the mother of 2 children and had 3 siblings. Today, her oldest son, Malachi, was asked to share what his mother was like.
She was loving, caring. She knew how to cook. Love her cooking.
Yeah, I ate it up every day.
The best cooking ever, ain't gonna lie. Yeah, she was just a ball of energy. She could talk to anybody. Like, we go anywhere, she want to talk to them, she go talk to them. She just, I don't know, she was just a lovable person. She always helped people too. That's the thing about her, she helps everyone.
Malachi said during the conference he has no words for what happened to his mother and that he cannot bring himself to watch the rest of the body camera footage. Now, Senator Doris Turner said the Masseys used to live on the same block as her and she was friends with the family. She described Sonya as soft-spoken and said she will make sure that Sonya's memory lives on. In studio, I'm Carolina Hassett. Back to you.
Okay. So that's just a little bit of backstory about her, and I just wanted to say that. So they said, like, she wasn't, even though she was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, I haven't heard any reports of, she was crazy, out in the street naked with a gun firing at, some of the things that could be concerning, if the police had been called out there some other time for, a violent, but I didn't find anything online about any prior episodes that were violent.
So it's a possibility, but she hadn't yet exhibited signs of being a threat. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Let's see. Let me go to this one. I pulled them all for some reason, but I cannot remember all the time what the reason was. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on.
For justice, the black woman who was shot in her own home by a sheriff's deputy. Authorities now releasing an autopsy report as the fire deputy who fatally shot her appeared in court. ABC's Morgan Norwood joins us now with more. Morgan, good morning.
Good morning to you, Whit. Yes, that autopsy report confirming that Sonya Massey died of a gunshot wound to the head, but her family says it's the direction in which Massey was shot that further proves that this was a senseless killing. All of it on police body camera video, and we do warn you this morning, it is disturbing.
This morning, new details in the police shooting death of Sonya Massey. An autopsy report showing the 36-year-old mother of 2 died as a result of a gunshot wound to the head. Her death ruled a homicide.
She needed a helping hand, not a bullet to the face.
Deputy Sean Grayson showing up at Massey's door after she called 911 to report a prowler.
What do you need help with?
Nothing. I just wanted to see if I could help me.
Throughout the 6-minute encounter, Massey struggling to answer questions. Her family saying she had recently been experiencing mental illness.
What is your last name? Shouldn't have to think about your last name.
When she asked to take a pot of boiling water off the stove, the situation changes in an instant.
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
I
rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot. Drop the pot. Drop
19 shots fired.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Grayson, who did not turn on his body camera until after shooting Massey, explaining the situation to responding officers, who ask, "Where's the gun?"
Where's the gun? No, she had a boiling water and came at me.
See, I mean, that's even the reaction of the officers. Okay, where's the gun? Because you do not respond to a situation with a gun unless someone else has a gun. You know, not a pot of water. Are y'all?
Yes.
Y'all still there? Okay. To be sure, nobody said a thing.
Just sound
okay. Michelle. We are gonna get to the history of the officer, and it is horrific. You know, also.
With boiling water. You shot her? Yeah. She said she was going to rebuke me in the name of Jesus and came out with boiling water.
Okay, blatant lie. We saw it. She did not come at him. Did she? At all. So, but the other officers are even questioning, why did you draw a lethal weapon and shoot her? Oh, she said she was going to rebuke me in the name of Jesus. Like, really? Okay, those are words. She didn't come, so she's using her words, and she didn't come at you with boiling water, sir. That is a lie.
According to the autopsy report, the bullet entered Massey's face under her left eye in a downward motion. Massey seen here ducking down as those fatal shots were fired. The family devastated, now demanding justice.
He needs to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Yes.
And Sean Grayson has been fired from the force and has pled not guilty to the charges in Massey's killing. ABC News, meanwhile, we've obtained a grievance filed for Grayson that claims that he was terminated without just cause. He is now asking for his job back along with lost wages and benefits. Tomorrow, guys, has been designated as a national day of mourning for Sonya Massey.
All right, Morgan, thank you.
Oh, the nerve to ask for your job back and lost wages after
Knock. Hi there.
I feel
I'd love to show you what a K-12 powered school is really.
Sorry, commercials playing. Yeah, I think that shows a lot about his state of mind. He clearly does not think he did anything wrong to ask for your job back and lost wages. Excuse me?
Right.
You can even, that point, that's made clear way before that, because the way his immediate reaction to having shot a woman with no weapon was, he's not going to waste a med bag on her. That was a headshot.
Yes.
The overwhelming amount of expletives used in reference to her. He called her a witch later, I think. There was no remorse. There was just adrenaline, I think, is the only emotion that he exhibited at all, really. The thing that bothers me a lot is that the other officer noticed that she had maintained some sense of consciousness there for a little bit after the shooting occurred, and I think what really bothered me about that situation is that they didn't move to check on her. They didn't move to remove a weapon. What really annoyed me is that they made the shots and then stood there forever, just standing, expecting something else to happen, expecting someone else to take charge, which is ironic, expecting anything. But they don't, even as far as I know, in a situation like that, unless there are other possible combatants nearby, the first thing you would want to do is move towards the person, remove the weapon, check on their status. If they're just injured, put them in handcuffs or subdue them, anything. But they stood there as if they had never been in a situation like this before, of course. But I mean, I don't know. They just stood there in shock at what they just did, or he rather, but they stood there both in shock. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
annoying.
Yeah, and the other officers coming in, the biggest telling thing to me was when the officer says, "Where's the weapon?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you shoot her? Where is her gun? Where is her weapon? Where is her lethal threat to you that you had to match it with lethal force? What do y'all think? I mean, Colton, Jam?
I mean, yeah. I think when the other officer asked, "Where's the gun?" I don't know. It gave me the same feeling as just like watching the original video, where I was like, even his coworkers and other officers are immediately like, something's not right.
Yeah. Where was your reasoning for this to have happened, basically? Because that was the scenario that was required to open fire, was there to be a weapon. I don't think anything else really could have been. I mean, even I don't know. Even a baseball bat. I mean, I don't know. Even a baseball bat from a woman of that size with no one else around, I don't think that warrants
Yeah.
literally an execution.
Yeah.
No.
No. Taser would have been the right response, because that it disarms the person without.
And it's so weird to me too, because again, we've mentioned it. There's a space between them. There was an immovable object separating them. All he had to do was walk backwards, and that's it. And if she continues to walk forwards, continue to walk backwards until you're outside. You don't step in front of a moving vehicle and then pull your weapon on it because it has a threat to you. What do you mean? You know what I mean? It's just. Anyway, yeah. I mean, he had made up his mind at that point after she had said what he said, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, but he had already decided that was what was going to happen next. And obviously, at least thankfully, the people around him were maybe not entirely outraged as all of us are, but at least aware that was absurd.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your first thought, because I know Colton can tell you this too. Your first thought in law enforcement is like, you're a team, okay? And you have to be. You have to have each other's backs. I mean, or you don't live through it a lot of times, But so I understand that the other cops didn't immediately come in and just say, "What the heck did you do? Have you lost your mind?" Because they're going to give benefit of the doubt initially, although they're not really saying a whole lot. Everybody's kind of quiet. And I think it's because they are questioning why this happened, but they're not going to say anything. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Colton?
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly it. I don't know. I mean, well, I don't know. Did you get to the part where he was talking about, I mean, they shot her and then she was like laying on the ground and they're like, they decided, or they're trying to decide if we should, what they should do afterwards. And, they're like, well, I'm not even going to waste my meds because, it was a headshot, so then, but they do end up like putting I guess using the meds or whatever, and like, I don't know. Wait, the second officer, I guess, asked, "Do you just still want me holding this pressure?" She's still gasping, and then this is like a little timeline I'm looking at here.
Yeah, we're back online now. I don't know. My internet is going out for whatever reason. I don't know. After I just upgraded it. So.
Did we all?
Okay,
cut
go
out?
ahead. We're all
I think
back
we're
now,
fine.
from what I see. Yeah. So keep going, Colton.
Well, they said I'll go get my med kit, but there's nothing much we can do. Then one of them
Yeah.
asked, "Do we have any call history of her being 1096, which means like a mentally ill or emotionally unstable person?"
Yeah.
Like immediately after well, no, this is 10 minutes after it happens. They're asking if they have any call history of her being like basically crazy or
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, wait, so he didn't get, actually, no, he didn't get the med kit for, what, 15 minutes after she was shot? And then,
Well,
yeah, so 17 minutes after she was shot, they said, is there anything we can even do for her? And the sergeant that is there and says, no, I'm not even going to waste my meds. And then, wait, I don't want to go too far. Well, like a minute later, someone asked him, are you good? And he said, yeah, I'm good. Fucking bitch is crazy. That's what Grayson said, which is the deputy who shot her. And then he said a minute later, it all happened so fast we didn't have time to call shit out. It was me and dipshit. I think she set it up on purpose. It is what it is. And then he says, I'm gonna go chill in my car for a minute, and then turns off his camera.
okay, wait a second. He says, all right, wait. Okay. He says he thinks she set it up.
Word for word, he said, it all happened so fast we didn't have time to call shit out. It was me and dipshit. I think she set it up on purpose. It is what it is.
Okay, those words. Remember those words. I think she set it up on purpose. And there's a reason I wanted to bring that out. No, I love what you've got, what you found. I don't mind, like, I'm it's okay to go ahead now. But let me show you something. Oh, hold on. Let me show you something that is very disturbing. Let me see. I'm having such a hard time with StreamYard tonight. I don't know what the heck. All right.
Healing and listening session, giving friends and neighbors a chance to mourn the loss of Sonya Massey.
The Springfield mother was shot to death by a now fired sheriff's deputy after she called 911 for help. Meanwhile, our Dave Savini has uncovered new hired multiple times.
Grayson's former police chiefs during a reference check for his next police job. It was a warning of the trouble Grayson had already caused, and it doesn't stop there. Another supervisor said he failed to obey orders, especially during the high-speed chase you're about to see.
The red flags and warning signs were there prior to Deputy Grayson firing those fatal shots into Sonya Massey.
I'm trying to get help.
A woman home alone who called police for help over a possible intruder.
Wait a second. Let me back that up. Let me see. I have not. This is from it almost looked like from a different angle.
Yeah, it was his perspective.
Yeah, his body camera, you can see that she drops the pot before she shot. So she doesn't even have it in her hands anymore.
Let me back it up just another hair, just a smidge. Okay.
Grayson firing those fatal shots into Sonya Massey.
I'm trying to get help.
Yeah. In one of these body cams, it has the very, very first, when she first opens the door, and the first thing she says to the officers is, "Don't hurt me." Which I thought was very weird. That's not your first. I mean, it wouldn't be my.
I thought that was.
She called him.
Yeah, I thought that was something that her mother said.
I mean, she did, but there's on this body cam, I've seen one body cam where, like, she is literally still inside the door and he's knocking, and the first thing that she says when she comes out is, "Don't hurt me." Now, I mean, I don't have that one. I watched so many today, but I don't think I have that one. I thought, well, that's weird. What a weird thing to say.
A woman home alone who called police for help over a possible intruder, but instead ended up with Deputy Sean Grayson.
Do what?
Grayson, who's now charged with her murder, had a troubled career that began with a stint in the Army, a discharge for misconduct, then followed by more accusations of misconduct.
We checked your front yard.
During his time in law enforcement, described as having trouble obeying orders.
We're at the end of 2nd Street. She's taking a right.
Like with what happened here at his 5th police job when he refused an order by a superior at the Logan County Sheriff's Department to terminate a high-speed chase over a traffic infraction. His speed at times reaching 110 miles per hour.
Are you pursuing? I'm about to terminate. She's flying up 121 right now.
But Grayson didn't stop. He did, however, turn off his lights and siren, but kept going anyways until he hit a deer.
Well, I'll definitely be terminated because a buck just smacked the side of my driver's side door.
Did you violate a direct order
Yes.
from a supervisor about termination?
Yes, I did.
Grayson was questioned by a deputy chief and other top staff after that crash in Logan County.
Do you agree, before we conclude this, that there's a mountain of policy violations that you committed? 7 months on, how are you still employed by us?
I don't know.
Yet he continued to get a pass over and over again. Even during the Logan County hiring process of Grayson, there were warning signs from another past employer, the Auburn, Illinois Police Department, where he worked in 2022. CBS News obtained these notes from a discussion between the Auburn chief and a representative from Logan County, where Grayson had applied for a new job. It states the Auburn chief said, Grayson,
did you catch, before they highlight this, did you catch that this is his 5th police job?
Yep.
5th.
Since
No,
2020.
struggles with
No.
report.
6th.
Well-
Yeah. 6th
Yeah, this
since
is a-
2020.
Yeah, this is his 6th, but he had 5 prior police job. Okay,
No,
so
this
he
is
gets
6 different police jobs in the last 4 years.
yeah, after he
Which
got
is-
discharged from the Army because of a serious
For-
violation.
Yeah, serious misconduct. That was 2016.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that you had serious misconduct in the Army and now you have gone through, you're on your 6th job in 4 years that are all police jobs. So, obviously, he was probably terminated, at least from some of the others or whatever.
Writing that he was very aggressive with getting drugs. The chief expressed concern that Grayson was too aggressive and that Grayson posted his drug arrests on Facebook. And the chief called him a bragger and was not great with evidence, left items laying around office.
The entire thing makes me sick.
Sangamon County board member Mark Ayers is on the jail committee that authorizes the hiring of new sheriff deputies. He says he was never informed of any negative notes about Grayson prior to hire, and his background was not shared with the committee.
I would never bring on someone that had that troubled past or that record.
As we have been reporting, Grayson worked for 6 police agencies since 2020, ending with Sangamon County, where he was entrusted to help residents in need like Sonya Massey.
Okay. All right. The reason I wanted to bring out some that clearly he was troubled. All right. But one of the things when I was talking about, you know, he said that, what was it I said that I had you read, Colton? Again, that she orchestrated it. In other words, that she brought this on.
Had set it, that she had set it up was
Yes.
the quote.
Yeah, that she had set it up. Okay, okay, the things that they said about him in that report, he was a bragger. Okay, he clearly does not think the rules apply to him. He's a bragger. You can't, and then Colton will tell you that you can't post your arrests on Facebook. I mean, you have to be, right? You have to be very careful about what you put on social media. True?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
That's illegal. It's the same that you couldn't post about your patients if you were a nurse or something.
yeah. I mean, it's real. Okay, so we have him violating over and over. The rules don't apply to me. I'm a bragger. I'm putting it on Facebook, making myself look good. All these things say to me, being medical, that is highly suspicious of being a narcissist. Okay? And if that is true, a classic thing that a narcissist or a narcissistic person would do is say something, they project their own crap onto you. So, oh, I think she set this up. It makes me immediately wonder, did you set this up? Who was knocking? How long did it take the police to get there? Were they right there soon? Like, and you had seen her, Grayson had seen her earlier in the day. Now, let me tell y'all this. This is crazy. And I saw this on TikTok, and unfortunately, I did not save it. But there is a guy that he shows the announcements. Grayson is supposed to be getting married in October of this year to a girl named Isabel Butterfield. Now, you know, it shows like their registry and all this kind of stuff, so it verifies, you know, who they are. What's interesting about Isabel Butterfield is that her dad was one of the chief deputies of the department. So you have to wonder if, number one, but we're not done with her, but you have to wonder if that's how he got his job after having been at 5 different police departments. Is it because of his fiance, whose dad is a chief deputy over there? Was he responsible for, you know, putting him in there and hiding even his past and the problems? And then the second thing about her is we know that Sonya Massey went to the hospital earlier that day, and guess who works at the hospital? Isabel Butterfield. So it's a very strange coincidence. And then the guy that shoots her says, oh, I think she set this up. Well, clearly she didn't. Clearly. I don't know. Is that reaching too far? What do y'all think?
Yeah, kind of. But I mean, you know, I guess the only thing that's interesting is that, you know, Isabel Butterfield worked at that hospital. The reason I think it's reaching too far is that if this were set up, if this were intentional, it would have definitely not played out in this manner. It wouldn't have played out in this way. It was too uncoordinated, unplanned, imprecise, heat of the moment. It just doesn't have enough supporting evidence as far as the tone of anything that.
Oh yeah, as far as what he said, yeah.
Well, no, I mean the way that he acted and all. I mean, you know, he did. Well, I mean, I guess like, you know, it's possible. I mean, I think that it had been mentioned that it's possible that he had been one of the officers that came out there, because this whole story kind of took place over 16 hours.
Right.
The beginning or the start of which was when her mother had called and said that the mental health facility doctors or whoever told her to call 911. I don't know why or in the event of what, but she did. She complied. And of course, she said, please bring, quote, non-combative officers or whatever. But when Grayson arrived, he was pounding the door aggressively. I think he asked, well, are you going to come out or whatever? Now, I don't know if that's where it all started, but that is obviously not how you deal with a person in their home. You know, he came into the situation very like emotionally charged as it was. So there, I mean, it is a possibility, like I said, that he already knew who this person was, but I don't know, again, I mean, if this were all, you know, set up, if this were all like conspiratorial, and for what purpose, what gain, what's the actual motive? You know what I mean?
I mean, what if he had a beef with her because of, I mean, I don't know if he had run into her before, if she had been at the hospital showing out, if she was having an episode, you know, and he already knew something about it. I will say this, though. This is one of the things that, okay, she calls 911, but then when the police get there, she doesn't come to the door at first because, and this is not in the part that we saw, she says, I'm not dressed. Hold on, wait, in other words, wait a minute, hold on, something to that effect. I'm not dressed. Well, okay, I understand she might not have been thinking straight, but you hear something banging on your house, and then you call 911, but you don't have time to put clothes on before they're there.
Which further, of course, makes it to where, I guess if we're keeping tabs, if we're making tallies, that's a point on Grayson's side because, obviously she has a history of mental unwellness and it's not entirely possible to predict what she's going to do, especially if she, felt threatened by external factors and called the police and wasn't prepared for any, interaction with said police, when you knew, minutes later.
Unless they were already in the area.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, unless they arrive very quickly, like very, very quickly. But I mean, then again, she just had a robe on, so it's not like that takes several minutes to put on.
Well, we don't know what she had on before, though.
Well,
You can go ahead.
I just wanted to say that because in the original question of like, do you think that's a breach? I think that it's very interesting that you said Isabel's father was the deputy?
Chief deputy.
Yeah. I think that's very interesting, especially because like, how would he get another job after he's been fired from 5 different counties or whatever?
Whatever, yeah. Colton?
Well, part of that is, I don't know. You never know. It sounds like they were kind of from a small town. Like I don't exactly know where this happened, but it sounds like they were in a small town. But it's not the easiest. Well, it's not like everybody in the world wants to be a police officer, so like they have trouble a lot of times, like filling the spot and then filling it with the best police officers possible is also another challenge. So sometimes like things like this like slip through the door, so like whoever hired them might not have noticed, like the guy said that apparently was in charge of doing all the background checks and stuff for the department. He said that he didn't know any of that information, like they had withheld it from him. But it also sounds like it's weird that she called the police and then like when they got there, like she had them waiting for a hot minute before she was ever ready. So there's this video of the Grayson's body cam, which is 30 minutes long. And these are a couple of the things on the timeline leading up to it. I'll just read it really quick. So 6 minutes into the video, Officer Grayson aggressively knocks on the door and mockingly says, "Search warrant." 8.5 minutes, he says, "She's got to put her drugs up." And then 9 minutes, it says Grayson's getting frustrated that she hasn't answered the door and tells her to hurry up. 11 minutes, they're about to walk away, but ask her about the car in the driveway that's all busted up. She said someone left it there, and second officer calls them plate number while Grayson asks for her ID and then enters home. She calls 911 again, starts looking for her ID, and asks Grayson to hand her Bible. She says she has paperwork in it and is looking for that instead of her ID. Then Grayson points to stove. So that's kind of what led up to that.
Okay. So he was possibly irritated because she was, digging through her purse and he had to wait for her to get dressed. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, that it is a little weird that she called the police and then when they got there, like she had them waiting for like 11 minutes, I guess, before she ever opened the door, which is a substantially long amount of time.
Yeah, it is.
It is quite a while, especially if you've been afraid of. I mean, I don't know, unless if, in some world where she didn't know that it was them, you know. I mean, that was kind of the start of the problem too, is that she thought there was, quote, a prowler, which I don't know if that's like just
somebody walking around her house, walking back and forth, looking at her house, something like.
Yeah.
You know.
The thing that's difficult to ascertain necessarily is how believable her perspective is, obviously, because of her condition being verified as paranoid schizophrenic, which is to my knowledge, at least without any subsections, probably the most likely disease mental disease in which you would hallucinate or imagine such things. So otherwise it would be, if she had been, if it were like a mentally stable person or just someone who were depressed or something like that, and then that's what she called because of a prowler, then, we could climb on the more conspiratorial bandwagon where we say, he was looking around for means of egress or seeing who all was home. And, that's why he was worried about who had parked that SUV there, if there were other people in the home or things like that. But it makes it significantly more difficult, cloudy to determine, being that she had a likelihood of hallucinating something like that. So it's tough.
Okay, let me ask you this, because we're going to get into some harder, more uncomfortable topics regarding this. Do you think it would have made any difference in the same scenario if she had been a white woman?
That's speculation. That's
it's really speculation, but I'm asking you, would it have made any difference?
I mean, it's like, it depends. I mean, it really, I don't know.
I think it depends on
not enough evidence to even,
suggest that was related.
Perhaps?
Yeah,
but at the same time, I mean, like, I feel like I'm not saying this is what he was meaning, but like when he was talking about like she has to hide her drugs and like stuff like that, like I feel like it could be like
so those are some instances of prejudice.
Prejudice, yeah.
And the other thing is that both of them had both her mother and her had stated clear indication of fear from law enforcement itself. Here's the difficult part, is that it is impossible to speculate or to point a finger at somebody based off of what they may have been thinking or what their motivations are. There are several times, there's a lot of people, everyone in the world actually does things without a clear motivation often. We do things on autopilot. We feel certain ways without prerequisites, as it were. That being said, of course, like I said, you can't speculate on someone's mental filters or screens, but I will also say that based off of the information that I've seen, it could have been different if it were a white woman. However,
would he have shot as fast? Would he have shot as fast?
However,
I don't know.
I don't know. I kind of think. Or sorry, continue.
Almost to answer that question would be to like be planting racism in a situation that might not, involve racism to begin with. I think it is interesting. I'd really like to see what kind of information comes out about her mom had said that was like really specific about like send non-combative officers, like, and I can't remember what else she said. Maybe she like
who are not prejudiced.
Or something.
Who are not prejudiced.
It obviously sounds like they've had some experiences in the past, so it makes you wonder, did she ever have any experiences with this deputy specifically, or was it just the police in general? Did they know her? And, was there any prior history with her?
Yeah, so that's another thing, is that I found the location in which this occurred. It appears as though it was Springfield, Illinois, and Springfield is a fairly large area. It is a metropolitan area with a lot of subdivisions. It's suburban, but it is still a fairly large place. It's not like a city like New York or anything, but it's sizable. It's large, with a lot of folks living there. And what it could have more likely been is a classism issue where there are areas where, poverty and things like that create, which of course I don't have statistics on crime rates or anything about that. I could probably find it here in a second, but I don't think we have enough information to say whether race was a factor at all. But I think that we do have enough information to say that if anything, a form of classism, because I think also racism and classism go hand in hand in a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we could at least say that there was a potential for some form of prejudice, especially being that was one of their primary concerns. That was one of the things that they had mentioned specifically, that they don't, But so one other thing real quick is that it had been mentioned that it was possible that Grayson was the officer that showed up, because there had been 2 events in which officers had showed up to her house within a 12-hour time period, or even 8 hours. I can't remember. And it had been theorized that it was possible that he was the officer that was there the first time. But being that it is such a large area, unless they are, which of course I'm not a police officer, I don't know how they, cut out, patrol routes and areas and coverage and sectors and all this, but it's, there are probably a lot of officers on this force. It's probably a very sizable force, and so not so much as a small town. So unless that, they're highly subdivided into very small sectors, and this has just happened to be his area. I would say it leans less it leans towards unlikely that it was the same officer.
Yeah, I think it was unlikely too, because I think the first incident was at 9 a.m. and then you're talking about almost 12 a.m.
Yeah.
I guess it would
then
depend
shift
on
coverage and things
their
like
shifts.
that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes they work over. What were you going to say, Colton?
Well, I mean, that could be true. That's also speculation. I mean, I guess it's hard to know, because you would never know. I mean, my old neighbor I used to have, he used to have the cops called on him just about every other day, it seemed like. So you never know. We really need more information. Do
you know if
these 2 people's past to kind of know,
right?
Because you never know. She could have the police out there, twice a week, and she might know everybody on the force. There are people like that. I'm not saying she is, but
I mean, and again, that's another thing considering her condition. I mean, like I know me, for example, if I were living alone, especially. And which I don't know if that is the case. She was alone at the time. I don't know if that she lived entirely alone. But if I lived alone, and if I had paranoid schizophrenia, in which there were, I'd probably end up calling the police a lot. Just better safe than sorry, because I don't want to be wrong and then be assaulted or robbed or whatever.
Right.
If I'm constantly hearing banging and stuff like that, I would probably call them often.
Hello, Hiawatha. Look, I am really, really glad you brought this up. This is kind of where I was gonna go next, outside of the racism factor, which I think there was some.
So
I definitely.
I'm just gonna read the comment out loud real quick. It says, she says, "I know I'm way late on this, but I don't think race would have made a difference. That man had a demon in him, and that poor woman knew it when she opened the door." That's the
that is the other side of this. Why all of a sudden did she say, "I rebuke you in Jesus' name"? Why did she say that?
Something that I am really hesitant about just as we go forward in this conversation. There have been a lot of people that I've met personally that do have very severe mental issues, but not only like that, they have just a block of sorts, the things that keep them from full pure clarity, that use a lot of religious language constantly. Not being aware of the implications or the settings or anything that they're so that is a thing, that is something very worth considering. Again, is that we need to be maintain awareness of this woman's potential mental state throughout all of this, because it could have been like she sensed something, she sensed the dark anything, and she used those words. But that may have been something that she also like just has on the tip of her tongue, waiting to go in case something happens, you know, because she hears it a lot at her church, or her family says that kind of thing a lot, and you know, during conflict. So you know.
Yeah, that's possible. But and I'm not even really looking at that so much from her side as I am his. Those, of all the things that were said, that is the time that you saw his hands away from his weapon, down at his sides. I mean, ready. But it was when she uttered those words, that is what set him off. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, so that's another thing. That I think that's the, like, if we are to open up the dialogue about if this was if there was spirituality involved with this altercation, that this happened because of the words that she said, it is pretty damning. Like, there's a very, very strong point to look at, that it was when she uttered those words, whether or not they meant a whole lot to her or whatever, that was the exact moment that things escalated. Like not even like a few moments after, when something else happened. Like, it was right here at this conjunction where she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." I think that's what she said.
Yes.
I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And immediately he took an aggressive stance. Immediately he prepared to draw his firearm. Immediately he was on edge, and all the hairs on his neck raised up. You know, if he were a porcupine or whatever, you know, they would have been straight up. He felt incredibly threatened at that exact moment. Which is the other part of why I'm, you know, from a physical perspective, I'm so confused, because, you know, her tone, her candor, her demeanor didn't change. It wasn't a threatening statement. It wasn't aggressive. She wasn't moving even towards him at that moment. It was literally, which is kind of silly, because it's kind of annoying rather that the second officer, he was turning at the exact second.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just one of those things where, if you know, you want to call in to the idea, if you want to call in the idea that this had a spiritual aspect to it, it's really difficult to look away from the fact that it was that second that everything seemed to change. Whether or not he came there with aggression or with heightened emotions or anything like that, you know, that was the catalyst, it seemed. It was that second.
That's what triggered him, in my opinion. That is when, I mean, he was already probably annoyed, you know, I don't know what his, you know, if he was tired, whatever, if he was aggravated a little bit, but it didn't seem so when she was digging through her purse. And even when they told her, "You've got a pot on the stove," it was when she said the words, "I'll rebuke you in Jesus' name." It's just like, he turned on a dime.
Right. Now, of course, it's worth mentioning that at the same time, this is where she was holding the pot. That was a weapon that caused the whole thing. And, you know, if you're like a physicalist, that's not a word that exists. If you're someone who's like strictly physical, you don't believe in anything else, you know, it's a muddled moment in the sense that, you know, you could just argue that those words didn't mean anything, right? And that it was the pot. And it was her holding boiling water that was the catalyst. But
because he said what, and she repeated it.
Right, but like these two things were happening at the same time, right?
Right.
And if you don't believe in anything spiritual or anything like that, you could just say, you know, oh, he didn't care what she said. He was concerned, you know, about the pot or whatever, and he was mentally unstable. He was ready for a fight, and he just flipped, right? Because he wanted an excuse. Even if you want to paint him as like a pure devil himself, you could say that was, he saw the pot, he saw it as a weapon, and he saw his chance to, you know, whatever. But if you if you do watch the video, socially, like psychologically, the way he responds, she says that, "I'll rebuke you in the name of Christ," or Jesus, whatever.
Jesus, yeah.
And he says, "What?" And the way he says "what" isn't like, "Huh, what was that?" He was like, "What?" Like, you know, and what I really hate about this and trying to, like, you know, discuss this topic is that all other officers like looking around the house like this, you know, and so like at that exact conjunction, there's no image of like, you know, from second to second when he began to like prepared to draw his firearm, but it was within that second that it did escalate, and you can hear it in his voice, and you can hear that when she repeated himself, or when she repeated herself rather, that he immediately was cursing, like, what, you know, what did you say? I'll shoot you in the face. Like immediately, you know, and I find it difficult to believe that a small woman holding a pot of water is the thing that would make me terrified. You know what I mean? Like enough to where it's me or you kind of thing, you know, where fight or flight takes effect. I don't, you know, and I don't think she was standing like this, like, you know what I mean? She was holding it. She wasn't like, you know, threatening to like make a, you know what I mean?
Right. And yeah, Hiawatha, we listened to that video where you can hear her pour the water out of the big pot. And so I don't even know if there was water in the little pot. I mean, she was holding a smaller pot because the pot on the stove was red and the pot in her hand was gray. But I don't even know that there was water in the pot. But yeah, it was much smaller. But I find it very interesting. Like, did she have, and I'm not saying that even if you have a mental illness, I know a lot of religiosity is often present with that, like we talked about. But I mean, can you still hear? I mean, I would say you could still hear God. I'm not sure if she did. Like, was she hearing God? Did she feel something? There's something very wrong with this officer. Like, was it? Well, I don't know. What do you think it's possible that she heard God and she already had this bad feeling?
I think, I mean, again, we're kind of, in a sense, this is all like theoretical discussion, right?
Right.
But if you believe in the concept of like the demonic, and if you believe, you know, that a person can be possessed or whatever, or have like some, you know, external influences, for example, looking at that man's history makes it fairly clear that he would be a prime contender to be one of those people, if this were all real. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like, you know, he left the, you know, discharged from the military. I don't know if it was the army or what. He was discharged for what was it? Unlawful behavior, some sort of behavior.
It was a serious violation.
Misconduct.
Yeah,
serious misconduct.
Yeah, it was misconduct, in quotation marks, serious violation. Like, it was not just, you know, he didn't take an order like he did in the police video that we watched. I mean, it was serious enough for the military to say, "You're out of here, buddy."
Yeah, and so another thing is that, you know, you mentioned, you know, before that as a group of police that you're all one force. Oftentimes, the concept of brotherhood comes into effect, that, you know, you're trying to stand together, especially when you're, you know, I guess fighting against the force that is, you know, the crime or whichever. And you see it a lot. I'm not just mentioning this, that you see it a lot where something really controversial will happen and the police officer would take a paid leave and not be fired. That there's a lot of leeway given in, you know, questionable circumstances for most police officers. However, Grayson had 6 police jobs, 5 of which he was fired from in the span of 4 years. You know, that's a lot over the span of 10 years. You know, that's very reasonable suspicion that this man has a bad track record. But this man is like literally going through it. Like, you know, like 5 fired from the police force in 4 years is, well, I mean, you know, that's a little bit over once a year, you know, and that means that, again, if he's a contender for, you know, being possessed or whatever, you know, and if you're looking at the concept of brotherhood within the police force, that's 5 fairly major violations, whichever way. I don't know if we have the details for that, and a track record of behaving in a way where he's not necessarily in full control of his actions, as you would look at a regular human being with morals and conscience who can make, safe decisions and, maintain calm, which is something that they train in the police force as well, that he is of sorts a loose cannon who is either willfully, aggressive or just simply, I guess you could say succumbing to the aggression within him or whatever, in whichever way you'd want to put that,
But yeah, I want to bring out a couple of things that Hiawatha and Samantha said. One, I had just put up there, some people who have mental illness are even more close to the spiritual than normal people. And I have to agree because there are a lot of open doors. I'll just say this. It does happen a lot. But the problem is when you have a diagnosis like that, people aren't sure whether it's accurate. You're discerning, your ability to tell whether it's accurate or not. And then, Samantha says the church teaches to rebuke evil intentions and cry out to Jesus. That's just what she did. Now, I did not. Did y'all hear this? And we can go back. I've got it somewhere. We can go back and look at it again. But Melanie says, by the way, hello, Melanie. I heard her say, "What are you looking at?" And the cop said sarcastically, "I'm looking at your hot, steamy water." And then he laughed. Then he said, then she said, "I rebuke you." She thought he was being dirty. Did y'all hear that? Because I don't remember that, but I remember
that. I remember when he said that, the way that it came off to me was that he was signifying like, what is it? That there was that he was signifying that there was an issue in the sense that, that it was more about fear of the water or whatever and not being assaulted with it than it was about, a sexual connotation. It would be difficult for me to, which I would love, to watch it again and look at it with that filter of context, to determine whether or not that was the case. But, there wasn't any leading up to it. There wasn't any indication that he was of that manner. Right. So as far as I can tell, that would have been like, that story, that plot line, that story beat would have been out of left field. That would have been like kind of all of a sudden.
But what if she took it that way? And that's why she said that.
So that's a different thing. Yeah. That's a supposed entirely possible.
Yeah. And so, Hiawatha, I've had to, yes, I don't rebuke, I bind. I feel like that's more effective. And there's a lot into that. But, and I doubt that I would have said it out loud, but that's just me.
If these were cool anime moves, that would be the difference of like, pushing someone away or tying them up with a rope, I guess. Which one of them would probably be more effective. But
I feel like she was doing what at some point, okay, whether it was true up to that point or not, for some reason, for her to utter those words, she had to feel threatened in some way. Again, whether it was real or perceived.
Yep.
I don't think she would have said those words that triggered him so bad if she did not feel a threat. Again, was it real? Was it perceived? I don't know. But it certainly was triggering.
Yeah, definitely. There something there made her feel uneasy. We could say it was a physical threat, and we could say that she felt like it was a sexual threat. We could say that it was like a spiritual threat of some sort. But I do find it strange that his reaction was at that. Melanie Lynn just said, "I think she was boiling the water to take a bath. She was in her nightgown." I don't have hot water. I do the same, is what she said.
If she didn't, and nobody has said.
That makes sense as to why she wasn't dressed and maybe why it took so long for her to get dressed. Like maybe she was in the midst of getting the bath ready or something like that.
Yeah, watching the video, I didn't see any seasonings or anything like that floating around. I don't know how that works. If you have to because if you do boiling water, if you have to mix it with cold water, it's some ratio. If that makes the water warm, I've never had to do that. I don't know.
I have. It's been a long time, but I have. And
Was she
she
on
could
new?
have been. I don't know, but we know that she had been at the hospital, so it's possible.
That is possible. Do we know the reason she went to the hospital?
I think she was having a psychiatric episode in the morning. Yeah. And I don't have that video. Like I said, I watched so many, but that was one of the things that somebody reported. I don't know.
So she went to the
if
hospital, but in order to be prescribed new medications, wouldn't she have had to go to her mental health professional, or is that a branch at the hospital? Or
I mean,
isn't that
I don't
usually like
know. They said it was an 8-minute drive from her house to the nearest hospital. I don't know if they had a psych doctor on call or on staff. You have a lot of, just like the jail, you have a lot of, because I've worked ER also, there's not really that much difference between ER and jail, honestly, in a lot of ways. You have a lot of psychiatric conditions that come in. And so, I mean, maybe she was having a reaction to another medication and the doctor on staff said, okay, let's prescribe you this because you clearly are not. I mean, we don't know. And we may never know unless the family says, because that's a HIPAA, it's a HIPAA violation for them to say
Right.
anything.
Isn't it? I mean, which I don't know. I know that they do this for physical ailments, but wouldn't it have to be the same doctor who has this patient's information on file and can sort through it and recommend new medications?
Well, I mean, if the doctor,
especially for, go ahead.
I mean, if the hospital is big enough, they may have a lot, just like our local hospital. They have, a separate or a connected building that has specialists. They have their offices there. So it is entirely possible that a psych doctor was on call that had access to her records.
Okay.
And, I mean, I don't know that it was, but it is possible for that to happen.
I just, from my perspective, I just assumed that it would have been because, especially since mental health is a very, very delicate thing, that it would have been necessary or even required that it be the same doctor dealing with one patient, as to not, potentially send someone into psychosis or something,
Well, yeah, it would be, and it preferably would be, but even if it wasn't, if she went into the hospital and said, I just started taking, I don't know, let's just pull a medicine out of that hat. I started taking Seroquel last night. I've only taken it for 2 days, and and she's loopy or whatever. They may have said, hey, look, stop taking that until you see your doctor. Here's something for anxiety, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We don't know.
I mean,
I don't know if we'll ever
fair.
know.
That's fair. And I guess if that's a possibility, then because she was acting very strangely during the whole conversation, if that is indeed a possibility, then the evidence does state, in fact, that she went to the hospital after a psychiatric episode, and then she was at home later in a very short time period in a situation where she was slightly incoherent or slightly difficult to deal with, the officer had asked for her last name. She didn't respond or couldn't. The officer asked about the black SUV that was out there, and she had she was slowly processing. Yeah. And then she gave very vague answers, like they or someone left it out there.
Right.
Just things that aren't exactly, again, super clear.
Right.
So it is possible, but all that aside, none of those things are really particularly related to how the next 10 minutes occurred. So but I mean, it could have been a situation where she perceived a threat that didn't exist because of it, and said those things. I rebuke you, but that doesn't really answer the question. So we're dealing with, from my perspective, my opinion, two mentally unwell people. And the biggest problem that I have is not even just that the man with the weapon was also the man in charge, who was also trained and all of this and had to follow protocol. Because, on the other side, Sonya, she was just someone in her house. She doesn't have to know protocol for a situation like this. Right. So the thing that bothers me is that then the weight of the responsibility does fall on the officer entirely. Even if she were completely out of it, it's still his responsibility. So the fact that he was mentally unwell and on the police force is, with clear indicators that he shouldn't have been in the first place, by the way. If anyone's joining in.
Right.
Recently, we mentioned that he had 5 previous jobs that he had all been fired from. And the only reason that he was on the police force at this moment was because his fiance, I think, her father was the chief of police in that area, which is, nepotism, conspiratorial, yada, yada. But it is concerning that's why he probably was even able to be there.
Yeah.
So
I haven't heard from Jam or Colton very much. How much? Let me just ask that. I'm sorry to bungler. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to hear from you. Do you think that the spiritual aspect, whether it was from her or whether it was from him, do you think that factors in this case? And how do you think it affected this case?
I think even if she didn't know what she was saying or what it meant to say that, I think that his reaction was very strange. It was I think if somebody said that to me, I wouldn't immediately be like, oh, this is a threat, whatever. I think that him immediately being angry was, I think it's very possible that it had something spiritual to do with it.
if nothing else, it seems unmistakably related to him having some sort of prior experience with this whole thing. That, even if that was like a trigger for him, that he had heard those words uttered and then something bad happened, whatever. But it's very indicative that that phrase had a very clear effect on him.
Yes.
In some manner.
Right. Clearly that is where it all escalated, from 0 to 200.
Right.
With those words. So, Colton, what do you think? Spiritual aspect?
It's interesting. It's one of those, it's hard to say. There's no can't prove it either way, you know what I mean? But it is very interesting because I don't know,
how would you react if you were doing something and somebody said, "I rebuke you in Jesus' name," or "in the name of Jesus"? What would that do to you?
I've heard people say that that he was like a skinwalker and like a demon in disguise, or there's people that are and I don't know. I've also met people that I've met 1 or 2 people that are that just seem like pure evil, they really have no good intentions in them or no conscience either. So I don't know. It's interesting to say the least. I don't know. It really just depends which way you come. You come from it, because a lot of people might say it's because she was a black woman, and that's why she got killed, and it had nothing to do with it. But and also like you guys said, there's the mental instability aspect, which that kind of brings a lot of things into question. And I've heard really crazy people speak spiritual truths even when they're really evil people, and just I don't know if they just happen to remember it. I don't know, but it's but there's also it is interesting that maybe she just saw something in him, and because he never really said any. Maybe he was a smart ass and he was a little hostile to begin with, but he never really said anything that I don't know. It's weird that that she said that, I'll rebuke you in the name of Jesus, as if she had seen something in him,
Yeah.
But,
because he never said anything that indicated that he was a threat, right? Or is that what you were saying a second ago?
Yeah, basically. He was a dick, and he's aggressive, but not more than you would expect.
Yeah.
In general from the police force, and I think that's
Right.
also something else to talk about is there is hardly any faith left in the police force, so.
Yeah.
And people in general, I don't find a whole lot of fair.
Right, sure, but the idea being that with her previous altercations with police officers, what appeared to be somewhat frequently, especially if she was instructed by her mental health professional to contact the police in an event, of whatever, then it would stand to reason that she had a lot of experience with the police force, and so her threshold for feeling threatened should have been a lot further. And then for her to say something like that, which is like. It's not something I wouldn't suspect that she would say that, like, every time a police officer comes by, it would
right.
Reason to me. Yeah. Melanie Lynn just said in chat, she saw something real or imagined something. And the thing that, again, like I was just saying, the thing that bothers me about that is that if it were imagined, it would have most likely been something a lot more like, because of her threshold, because of her experience with the police previously, she would have dealt with it and dealt with it and dealt with it. She would have been like, there would have had to be like a very escalated issue for her to, say something or to feel in a way threatened enough to say, that specifically. That's not something you just, you know what I mean? It's like, I rebuke you. That's not a common, that's not a phrase you toss around. That's not just like, common vernacular. It's a very particular statement meant for like a very particular purpose. And so my reasoning is that there was nothing in reasonable threshold level of her previous experience to indicate that she should have said something at that moment, which makes the concept of it being spiritual a lot higher because, physically it doesn't stand, even in an altered mental state, there was no aggression there. He wasn't even really moving much, even if she, I don't know, she would have had to see something that caused a change in her to say something like that, as the situation leading up to it was very calm, even if he was a dick.
Okay, so go ahead.
I think, like, going back to his reaction, in putting myself in his shoes, if somebody said that to me, or even just as a regular civilian, like, it might scare me. And I understand, like, if you're scared, like, you don't know what's going to happen, especially when you're an officer. But at the same time, I feel like my first reaction would be to try to de-escalate, because it's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
So,
Why?
And so that's kind of the other half of the, right. That's kind of the other half of the coin, is that, say he felt, reasonably threatened and say that it was for good reason, right? So that's like the second half of a discussion like this. If like if he felt threatened or whatever, he made a crazy choice in that moment. He didn't make a reasonable assessment. He didn't say, he didn't back up. If he felt like, if he felt convicted, even like if he felt like attacked or something like that. The reasonable choice is to walk backwards, is to be calm. She's not brandishing a weapon. There's no immediate threat. The way that he behaved, like I mentioned kind of in passing earlier, is that when she said that, he had a fight or flight response. He had a whole chemical, surge of adrenaline, where now he's on, 9 alarm level. Like he is, ready to go, which is super bizarre, even for someone with previous mental issues and stuff like that, and like a tendency to fly off the handle. Like it's just it doesn't make any sense.
It was like a slap in the face to him. It seemed like, because all of a sudden, boom, he went from being in a situation telling her to get.
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna. I'm sorry. I'll put it plainly. Yeah. If she saw something demonic, and if he was a carrier of something demonic, I will say that what the following actions that he chose to do were certainly demonic, and that's not a word that I use a lot, by the way. I don't like the idea of, but like, if I were to imagine what an actual devil might do, it was probably that. No remorse, no hesitation before or after, no calm thinking about it, no trying to relax. He drew and fired in like 6 seconds after she said that. Like, almost like as quickly as humanly possible. The only thing that made him hesitate even slightly was that he knew he was a police officer, but it didn't slow him. It didn't even slow down his stride.
No.
He had, you can see it in his body language. There was like maybe half of 1 second where he was parsing through whether or not he should do what he knew he was about to. And it didn't, like, he hesitated for just a second and then reached around the counter and committed, again, an execution. It's just super bizarre. That's all I'll say. The conversation, if she saw a demon, I don't know. But if I were a demon, if I could imagine a demon, that's what a demon would do. That's not what a person would do. And that's kind of that's the thing that's so harrowing about the idea, is that, it was so sudden, so swift, so decisive. There wasn't, weighing, judging, balancing. There was nothing. He just walked up and shot her as soon as she said that. And that really, that's a very scary, that's a very terrifying thought. Event, especially even that a person, not just a police officer, that could do it.
Well, let me ask y'all this, and I think Colton kind of answered from his perspective. Not that you can't say it again, but
Go ahead.
What have you ever met somebody that you literally thought, I think this person has a demon?
Yeah, well, one guy in particular, when I was working at a county jail, there's this one guy, he had been in there twice for stabbing people, and not only stabbing them, they called it gutting, because he would, basically stick the knife in there and then just,
I
don't know, swirl it around or something,
Yeah.
Anyways, he had told me one of the times he had, I can't remember who this guy was. It was just a random guy, basically, as random as a mailman or something. And, he was talking to him for a second, and then he just had the urge, just felt like this guy was possessed. And it was his job, God was telling him he needed to kill this man and, deliver the world from evil or something, just nonsense, and it I don't know, it almost, it's kind of one of those things where it's like the validity of what they're saying almost is somewhat in comparison to the validity of their mental stability, because that, I mean, that's one way you would, judge someone's opinion, is just based off of what you know of them already, and their character and their, mental stability, you could say. So, if this guy's crazy, even when everything he does tell me that's right, you gotta double take and question again. So, I don't know, it's a weird situation where this guy is blowing angry as soon as he hears these words, but at the same time, I don't know, it is weird, is it a coincidence that he just happened to I don't know, that's what he set him off. I don't know.
That was the explosive moment. Yeah.
Let me ask y'all this. Can you hear and see me?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can hear you. You're frozen.
Yeah, my whole screen, the whole computer, I, honest to God, have never had this problem ever. I can't even see, I'm trying to control stuff. I can partially see the screen, but I can't
How many tabs do you have open? A lot?
Maybe,
if you hit refresh,
StreamYard, 'cause y'all's voices have been sounding like a robot all night, glitching out.
I hear everybody perfectly fine.
Yeah, I've been hearing everyone fine too.
Well, but, I mean, but to add, I've definitely met many people that are just very you could say they're just pure evil, have zero good intentions. So I really don't think that it's completely not I don't think it's you can completely like rule out that unless if you do only believe in like physical things, whatever. But I think if you're somebody that does believe in the spiritual aspect, I think that's definitely something to consider.
Yeah. Because I think there is even psychologically, there are moments in people's lives where even if they are, there are moments where, even if someone has like a predisposition towards violence or, aggressive nature or anything like that, there are moments in every person's life, especially people who are afflicted by that kind of thing, where they almost relinquish control to the urges that they have, and they become a different person as a result of it. I think the most interesting thing about the story that Colton told was that, this man who was just talking to someone casually, who did not mean anything to him, who he did not know, just without warning and without really any reason, just committed a very, aggressive, kind of sickening, stabbed him, killed him. What's weird about that is that, even the psychology of serial killers tends to be a lot different, and the way that they, have a little bit more calm and calculating nature to it. Not just the famous ones too, but like they have like something, whether it be from their childhood or whatever, there are causes and reasons, and and they have like a, and when they find somebody, it's because they relate to, experience, like it relates to their childhood, or a figure from their childhood or whatever. But to simply just meet somebody and you don't know anything about them and you just have an urge to kill them. To my knowledge, that's not really like obviously it falls under the umbrella of psychology somewhere. But that seems a lot more different than like cause and effect, than, causality, than, someone dealing with an issue from, repressed trauma or whatever, and then translating that into violence later, against people who remind them of that situation or whatever. That's a little bit different than just killing because you want to, for no reason or no cause or anything. That feels a lot more animalistic, which is kind of, again, like, if I paint a picture of what I would imagine a demon to be like, it would probably be like that,
We lost Colton.
Yeah, well, we'll get there.
I have no idea. Somebody said, is there too many people on the Wi-Fi? I don't think so. I don't think that's I don't know. I don't
what's
know
cool
if
now is
there's an
that
outage.
Y'all two have swap places. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. That's funny.
Anyway, yeah. I mean,
But yeah,
there's storms
I mean,
around, and who knows?
maybe
anyway.
maybe that's it. But
I find the most interesting part of that story, I guess, to be how well, a couple of things. One, how much he believed that he was really doing the right thing, and also, I don't know. There's some interesting studies like when people would study Hitler, and they would realize, like, after not that long of studying, like how he came to be and how he came to have this mindset, that it doesn't take that much for a person to change or to transform into that kind of evil, you know what I mean? Like, almost like as if there was like some part of that within all of us, you know what I mean? That like you suppress, whether it's because you don't want to go to jail or if you have a conscience, like whatever the reason is, like you suppress your actions. But I don't know, it's weird to think, like, I don't know, like I like, like a lot of people's perspective on this is he's a demon, he's a shape-shifting, like, he's just the devil in disguise, or and I had this question come up a lot, I guess, when I was working at a jail, around these type of individuals a lot. If they're like truly, or I mean, are they truly evil, or are they still people, like, are they savable, or are they, like, are they demons, or are they people, like that or is there like, or do people call other people demons based on how much evil that they are perceived as, or how much evil that they maybe cause, you know, or how much havoc they cause? Maybe that's how much you determine someone's demonically possessed, or you know what I mean, like.
Yeah. What I find interesting about that, so one of the things you mentioned was that, you know, especially, you know, studies of Hitler and, you know, what happened to him that caused him to behave the way that he did, is that there was a surprisingly short distance between living in normalcy and, you know, essentially pure evil, right? Is that it's like, you know, the distance is so short that the idea that we're all like sort of predispositioned to be evil is kind of brought up, just that idea.
And you can make the argument that we live in the same world today.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people do.
Oh, we certainly do. I mean, you know, but I think that what's interesting to me about that is that, I guess that whole concept is that it doesn't seem like that's like that happens in the opposite direction, you know, like it doesn't seem like, you know, you can be like relatively normal and then have like a moment like touches your heart and then just suddenly be like a, you know, a saint and be like super careful of like everyone's thoughts and opinions and, you know, go out of your way to help people and volunteer at soup kitchens and stuff like that. Like people like that takes a lot longer, it seems, from at least I would assume. And, you know, from what I've seen.
Or do you think there are like inherently good and bad people, or do you think it's something that's learned and practiced, you know, like the same way? I mean, you know, like I would say that like 99% of people would, you know, like if you asked them, they would say they're a good person, you know, but most people aren't, you know what I mean? Most people are bad people, you know, but maybe there's still quite a bit of distance from being a bad person and pure evil, you know, but there's also still a great distance from being a bad person and a great person, you know what I mean? And I think that a lot of people act on their intuitions, you know, and their gut feeling, and you know that doesn't always take them in the right direction, you know, and especially in the case of mentally unstable people, that's usually how they make their decisions, you know. It's not always based in logic, you know. It's a lot of it, you know, like most people act on intuition or gut feeling, you know, so they're doing the same thing. They're just not based, I guess, in reality as much, but they're not always aware that they're doing something, so, you know, like,
yeah.
And
I didn't mean to. So the question is, do I think that, you know, it's, you know, there are inherently good or bad people? No.
Yeah, you think that man, that deputy was like just pure evil, or do you think he was just pinned up with aggression and he got power at the wrong time?
I think the list of things that makes a person is almost infinitely long. I think that your circumstances.
Yeah. But
yeah, I mean, I don't think that, you know, you're born a saint or born like a evildoer or anything like that. I think the deciding factor is what you will to do or to be. I think that what you will to be is what it sets the course for what you will become. But your will is often set in experience and knowledge of choice, knowledge of the choices you have available. You know, people who have only ever witnessed evil, you know, whether they grow up with abusive parents or they grow up in a inner city location where they are raised around, you know, death and murder and robbery and stuff like that. You know, what the person wills to become often leads them to what they do become, but it's not always that easy either, because there are, you know, mental disorders, there are prerequisites, there are things that people experience that if you wanted to be a good person and you're stuck in a world of hell, like, you know, inner city, you know, gang violence situation or whatever, the ability to become that good person is incredibly difficult, because the events that you see every day are, you know, they kind of rob you of your humanity in a way. But I think the problem is when you kind of let go of your, well, if you let go of your will, if you just resign to the fate that you're in. And I think that causes a lot of evil type people. I think that, because I think that fundamentally people understand, at least on like an instinctual level to some degree, what is a good thing or what is a bad thing or what is a right thing or a wrong thing.
Well, that's all kind of learned. I mean,
a lot of it is, but
that's another question. Do you think it's all like what's I don't know. Do you think everything is learned like through the actions of, or I mean, maybe the way your parents taught you, like maybe someone learned, like their grandma, I don't know, you're eating dinner, you're a kid, and you don't finish your food, and your grandma tells you need to eat all that food. You're not gonna grow up to be big and strong, blah blah, whatever. And they tell them they got to finish their food every time. Well, maybe 20 years later, this guy's obese because he never learned that he didn't have to stop eating when he was full. Like.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it.
Example, but.
Well, no, but I mean, it works. You can look at the human condition as so binary, but the problem with that is that within each person there is even people who are not like incredibly intellectual or anything like that. I don't know what's going on with.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, sorry. I think the thing is that if people were so binary, then creativity would be a very difficult thing to perceive. I think that if people were like input output, if people were only the product of their environment, that creativity would almost not exist. It may still exist in some forms, but I think if you have seen the depth and the complexity of what some might call the human spirit or whatever, like the just the depth of what it means to have a person exist, I think that it's difficult in that same sense to say that like, that any animals contain a similar complexity to people. And I think that people being simply so binary is often a cop-out, because I think that people are led down a path based off of their circumstances, for sure. But I do think that every person at some point makes a willful choice on which direction they're going to go, or who they're going to be, or what they want to do, or what they want to accomplish, or what they don't care about, or what they do care about. I think that there's plenty of time for every person to say, like, at any point they're at a crossroads. Anytime a person needs to make a decision, there opens up an internal dialogue where you have to think about what to do, and I don't think that people can always 100% of the time act only instinctually when it comes to situations like that. Even if someone has never thought about the concept of morality, or if they've never thought about religion or anything like that. I think the thing that makes people so vast is that every person has the ability to conjure up some thought about where their current path will take them and the implications of that. And so I think that in essence, like I said, the will of a person ends up being what makes that person become one thing or another. But that, of course, external factors will have their significant effects. And so the strength of someone's will may not be enough to overcome that if they decide to lean against something that they are surrounded by. So,
but two things. One, I think Jam might have to go. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
okay.
I do have to leave, but I just wanted to say, like, I was gonna say this like for the end, but I would like the final thoughts are like, it doesn't matter if it was prejudice, it doesn't matter if it was mental illness or demonic entities, like no matter whatever happened was a very horrific tragedy, and it never should have happened.
Absolutely not.
100%. And 100% on the officer as well. Yeah. 100% his fault.
Anyway, I'll let you guys go, and I'll probably rewatch the rest of the live, but
okay.
We'll see you next time.
All right.
We'll see you
Good night.
See you.
Good night, Jamboree.
Pleasure having you around. Okay.
It's been crazy tonight. I don't know. Maybe there are storms in the area for me, but whatever. Um, and I forgot what you were saying, but I mean, okay. Oh, I know what I was going to say. All right, you're saying it's a matter of choice how people, and I do agree about 90% of that. But some people, I mean, do you believe? I mean, I do, but do you believe that some people are born with a demonic presence, bloodline, whatever, that predisposes them to maybe go more on that side? I mean, I don't think that's the only factor, but do you think that there are things that uh that make one child, I don't know, more evil, I guess, than another?
I want to answer that, in a logical sense. That's a very that's a very like mystical question, so to speak. But I will say,
you're welcome.
Yeah, no, it's a difficult question to answer logically. When we talk about the officer, we can talk about the differences between mental state and predisposition and his choice, and then if there were influences and stuff like that. But if we're talking about like if there are people who are born with a demonic influence, the only way to really discuss that is like with the concept of theology. But right, and it's difficult to like look at that in a more logical sense. Although I'll still try. I'll give it a shot. I think that which I'm not an expert on brain chemistry and science. But what I will say is that if evil exists only as a chemical compound, then certainly it would be shared within the family tree. If there is a predisposition to evil based off of the physicality or the biology of somebody, yeah, a little bit of that would be, set before that person is born. That let me start over. I don't think that everybody is born in a neutral state. I think there are definitely like pre-existing, just same way as if the mother is a heavy cocaine user. When that baby is born, the baby is also going to be addicted to cocaine and will have withdrawal symptoms. Which is an interesting and terrible fact to know, but anyway.
Yeah, and it's true. I've taken care of those kind of babies.
Yeah. So I mean, just like with anything else biologically or within chemistry itself, if the spiritual in any sense works in a physical sense, which my thought about my actual belief, I don't like to talk about my actual beliefs a whole lot, but I literally do believe that the concept of spirituality is just a concept of the physical that we have yet to be able to measure. I don't think that there's like a different magical, world, but I think that the way that that physical, existence, outside of our vision, certainly could have like what could be determined as magical properties. The same way a wormhole might have the idea of a magical property if you can teleport through time and space, and the way that gravity affects time and things like that. I think that the spiritual is physical, but in a way that we don't have tools to measure or see.
I mean, I guess I could see that if they're in another, you're going to get into quantum physics, but if we live
I'd love to.
Yeah, I love quantum physics too. I love it. But if we are in a multiverse kind of parallel to each other, if that is true according to quantum physics, then the spiritual could potentially be, I mean, because I see things as physical and spiritual. That's just the way I see them. But if it's just that the spiritual is on another plane, then I can see where that would be. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I'm very distracted because Colton, like, he got on an invisible ladder and just disappeared.
Yeah, my light bulb was, I'm sure they saw it. My light bulb was going crazy.
Earlier, he walked away and it was just a floating shirt, which I would love a clip of. That was fun. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you live in a multiverse, then the spirit, what we call spirit, because we don't have any physical, I can see where that could be possible. I look at things as two separate, but maybe, I mean, I don't know. What do I know? Maybe they're not. Maybe it's just on another plane.
Well, compartmentalization is human nature. It makes things easier to deal with, and it has, it also allows you to create a set of rules for, different aspects of existence depending on what you're dealing with. It's not a wrong way to look at things. I just prefer the idea of a unified picture because that's the way that my brain works. I like to look at the big picture and how everything works together and all that, and if that is the case, if spirituality does exist in a physical form, then it absolutely would have an effect on the brain chemistry and, even, our electronic, field around us, electromagnetic field around us and all sorts of things like that. If beings are able to live in this world, and again, there's the other concept that that not all life is strictly carbon based. There's, if we ever find evidence that not all life is only carbon based, then that is going to should be a big eye opener for how things are. But, all I'm saying is that, it's incredibly possible that, a realm beyond our understanding could simply just be a realm beyond our measurement, and that the effects that it has can be described with, religious symbolicism or whatever. And it can even be, affected and, not messed with, but it can be interacted with based off of our limited understanding of it.
Well, it's definitely, I mean, it's very limited. Our understanding of most things, in my opinion, is very limited because, I mean, the Bible says we see through a glass darkly. We really don't even see, we don't know
the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, we don't know. We also don't know what Antarctica looks like. There's a lot of things that we don't know.
Colton, do you think that, I mean, what's your take? Can someone be born evil or having an evil component? Excuse me, what do you think?
Well, people can definitely be born with psychological predispositions that I guess you could say would certainly make it harder for them to live a normal life.
I mean, but demonic, spiritual, is it possible? I mean, just your opinion. There's not a wrong answer. Like, what's your...
I don't know.
I love watching Colton deal with the internal turmoil.
I'm not really I don't know. I'm more of a concrete kind of guy. It's hard for me to really say, because there's no right or wrong. You know what I mean? It's just take a guess. That's kind of what you're asking me. Flip a coin.
Well, that's what the bungler told me he likes about the three of us being on discussion together. Is he feels like I am more mystical and you are so very grounded that it gives it's true. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I am a very mystical person.
It creates a very large playground on which for me to dance between the two competing, ideologies, which I just enjoy that. But yeah, I mean, and I know, I knew when you asked that question, it isn't something that you can consider, logically necessarily. You either have to believe in it or not,
It's all faith based, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
as far as being born into it, for me to answer that question, the way I would have to, the only way I can answer that question would be to try to find some kind of evidence. But the things that come to mind are I don't know. Okay, say you're born into sin. I'm guessing that means born into a world of sin. Maybe that doesn't make you automatically sinful, but so I don't know.
Well, you're born into sin because all humans are. That's why we needed a redeemer.
Well, I know, but what does it mean, born into sin? You're born as a sinner, or you're born into a world of sin, meaning...
No, you're born as a sinner because you're not clean.
If you're a sinner, that means already sinned. So what is your sin up to that point of being born?
Well, it's because of it's because of the curse of humanity. It's like being born as a lioness, a lion cub.
Okay,
you haven't eaten anybody
well,
yet, but you know you're still a lioness.
Okay, well I'm not gonna.
No,
It's
go
kind
ahead.
of irrelevant. Kind of irrelevant, anyways. But was Hitler born evil, or did he choose to be that way?
Good question. Okay, and I'm gonna, because I've listened to what y'all are saying, and here is the thing, and my defense. Okay, I believe very much in spiritual bloodlines, as you both know, and okay, let's talk about the physicality that Bungler was talking about. We know now, which we didn't know about, years ago, that a child can be born with a predisposition to be an alcoholic because of alcoholism in your family. Like you already have that tendency, and or some other things. Okay, that's a physical DNA thing. Okay, that predisposition.
I'd have to see the studies on that.
Yeah, well, that's something that they teach you in rehab and stuff. Like if it's passed down. I mean, it's a physical problem.
What's passed down? Just a addictive personality, or
a genetic. It's genetic.
Well, I know it's genetic, but what is genetically passed down? Is it alcoholism itself, or just addiction, impulsive?
For alcohol, it is. No, for alcohol, it is.
I would imagine the way that works is that if you are, if you come from a line of heavy drinkers, that the way genetically, because I think everything that that enters our body, especially over a long period of time, the way that it could alter our, there are small things that can alter our DNA and literally make us crazy, like very, very small things. I think the way that it works is that if you come from, especially if you come from a line of like a long line of alcoholic people, the way that alcohol would be predisposed to affect you is that your body would essentially have a tendency to crave it in a way after you experience it. You're predispositioned to have a feeling of craving the alcohol as it was,
So
as that
how would
is
you- Okay, how would
Go ahead.
you define that from someone like? Well, you don't call you don't call people like crackaholics. You know what I mean? What's the difference between? What's the difference between? Well, hold up. What's the difference between someone choosing like they try out? All right, so once they try alcohol, then they have this predisposition, whatever that's supposed to make them.
Right.
Like impulsive and unable to say no. Like what's the difference between that and them just having like I don't know, just I don't know, just impulsive behaviors to begin with, or just or addictive personality, and maybe they chose alcohol instead of other things because.
right. I think it's a bit of both. I think that
Well, hold on, because this is what I learned in nursing school. Okay, that alcohol, and I mean the predisposition to other substances, and I Bungler, go ahead in just a minute, but it is for alcohol. It is a physical genetic problem. Okay, they isolated that one. Now, a lot of other things, can be maybe, predisposition to this and that. But alcohol is its own problem. And yes, it is genetic because they did isolate it. I cannot remember what it's called. But I mean, that's something I learned forever ago.
and the reason alcohol would be the easiest one to separate as far as determining genetic mutations is because it's the substance that is most frequently used, not just in the last couple of years since we've been able to determine it, but also, that's what people used to drink because water was the only other choice. And so you have a huge control group of, family trees and family lines to look through, and, to be able to parse them and compare them, have a cross examination between those and those who do not come from such a lineage. And it has even less to do with regional effects than it has to do with the alcohol itself. Now, the question wasn't whether or not it makes you more impulsive on average. The question was if it makes you more impulsive towards, following a path that would lead you to an addiction to alcohol itself. That is not only, chemically, sound the way that you could even imagine it, but now, could someone be impulsive based off of, something completely unrelated? They have it's just how genetic, I would even say arguably, with the idea of sociology, that people who are more prone to be impulsive are probably in the higher common denominator or the higher percentage because, the act of sex itself often is an impulsive choice. And so what you'll probably find is more people on the earth that have been the product of an impulsive decision, repeated and then carried down,
what I'm
filtered
saying
through
is,
to concentrated.
is like oftentimes like alcoholics don't just struggle with alcohol. They might struggle with sex or porn addiction or whatever. That's what I'm saying. It's not, I'm saying, how do you know it's alcohol and not just like being like
impulsive on its own?
Yeah, just to instant gratification,
Right. Well, I will say that, unless it can be proven that these people in question aren't. So the problem is that alcohol consumption itself makes you more impulsive. So if you can't separate like someone who has been going down this path and then they stop consuming alcohol, they get over the, withdrawal effects, whatever. There's a period of time where it's, proven that they haven't consumed any alcohol and then they're still impulsive outside of that. Then, that's a discussion. But I think the problem is that it's all too interlaced, that they, oftentimes these people are more impulsive because of the alcohol consumption that they were predisposed to. It's a very kind of vicious cycle.
I wasn't really disagreeing with you. I was just kind of asking a question to get a more clear answer.
Oh no, yeah, no, I love that. I think the thing is it's difficult to narrow down or to catch because it's such a philosophical question in a way that but I would imagine that it is likely that things such as impulse control or lack thereof can be passed down. I think that a lot of traits can be passed down. I mean, especially if you follow the the ideology of evolution, certain traits are going to be there's going to be a created concentrate of certain traits as family trees get narrower and narrower, because there are certain traits that everyone will share, and then those traits will end up being one of the things, just how evolution would be, just how people would evolve. And that's why I love the idea of impulsivity being one of those traits, because impulse control problems would certainly be a reason why more people exist in the first place. And if that's true, then more of those people would mingle with each other, creating even a higher concentration of impulse control disorders.
Well, that's true. And so, I think it's very, I think it's very true what you said about, for so many hundreds, thousands of years, alcohol was consumed, as it still is in Europe, by even children, because that is what you had, to be able to cure, take something and it not rot, they had to, so alcohol has been around. So yeah, I think I do have an article on that. I wanted to say, Samantha, you're talking about people who have medical reactions to alcohol. Very little alcohol makes them intoxicated and literally sick. Yeah, I'm one of those people. And strangely enough, yeah, they've seen this. Very little alcohol. And it has been explained to me medically that it's pretty much like an allergy to alcohol, because the effect is so severe, so quick. And I will also say that I come from a long line of alcoholics on both sides. So it's very fortuitous it's very fortunate that I have this problem, because, with all the other factors and stuff, could I have been an alcoholic? It would have genetically and environmentally been probable. And
wait, say that last bit one more time.
Okay. I'm saying that because of the genetic line of alcoholics on both sides of my family, and environmentally, the things that, I have gone through and watched with family members, it would have been probable, had I not had this allergy to alcohol, it would have been probable that I would have become an alcoholic or at least a heavy drinker, but I can't.
It's kind of an interesting thing to think about. This isn't really an important topic that, what I was about to bring up, but I was just curious if you think that, genetically somehow you reached a point where your liver or whatever portion of your body is, has the allergy. If you think that was an inevitable conclusion for your family lineage to reach a point where you're born with like a weakness to it, or if that was more or less a mutation or like an accident or like a lucky disease. I don't know what you'd call it. Some people would think drinking like a sip of beer
disease.
and getting. Some people, dude, look, I've mentioned it to people a lot just over the years when it comes up. And I mentioned that, just a sip of beer or a couple of sips of beer will make you just absolutely, drunk. And people are like, wow, that's amazing. I drink a 12 pack every night just to get feeling a buzz, and I just wonder if,
Well,
if you think
well,
that
I didn't mean to go off on a whole tangent.
Yeah. No.
Basically what the whole reason I was saying that is the whole reason I was asking how do we know. There was a reason. The reason I was asking how do we know that alcoholism is genetic, and to define what genetic even means, kind of in a way, is because it's the same reason I have trouble answering the question: are people born evil, or how do we know if somebody's demonic really? Because all right, say in the case of Sean Grayson, this deputy who shot the woman, he didn't turn into a demon, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't physically turn into a demon. So why do people say he's possessed? Well, one is because the timing of his action right after she said what she said, but also makes you I don't know, when you think of people as being demonic or possessed, they hold certain qualities, or they're acting in a certain way, and those actions are deemed as demonic, or is the whole person a demon, or they, that's what I'm kind of.
Well, yeah, but that was kind of my point, though. Okay, the alcohol gene or whatever, that it's not just the gene itself, it's the predisposition and then the environmental. But my whole point with that is, if there is a physical bloodline problem, then why can't there be a spiritual bloodline problem, as I believe there is, that causes you problems from birth? It's just in your soul.
It's just hard to define, though, is the problem.
Yeah.
So many factors.
Because again,
you can't really study it, and you couldn't make a study of it, and a controlled study of it to get it's because there's just so many factors,
But biblically, you can. Physically, no, we haven't gotten to that point yet. Biblically,
so what I'm saying so you could say that, okay, this guy was possessed and he passed down his demons to his son, but what does that even mean? Or is that you say this guy's possessed and maybe he acts narcissistically, or he acts in a certain way and talks in a certain way, and are those qualities what are being called demonic, or do people act or is it just something inside of them that has nothing to do with how they act or what they say or what they look like, because then how would you would never know.
Well, you never know at birth.
I would like to.
I'm talking about just in general.
I'd like to yap a bit for a second and kind of paint a cool picture.
Okay.
So I'm just giving you a heads up, I think, or is all. So one of the reasons I love the philosophy that there is no compartmentalization as far as spirituality and physicality is for exactly things like this, because most people in the world are resigned to believing in one or the other. And everyone who believes in things that are deemed spiritual are also deemed unstable in a lot of ways, because it doesn't have any direct reaction to the things that we can see that a normal person would see. However, if the idea of atoms, let's just only use atoms, right? It took a long time in human existence, in the human trajectory, to discover the existence of molecules or atoms or anything like that, because we didn't have the ability to see it. So what I'm saying is that, like, while we do know a lot of things, there is probably a high possibility, high chance that because again, there are also a lot of physics in space that we can't comprehend, that we can't measure, that we can't determine how they came to be. We are forced to use things like, dark matter, dark energy, things like this, because it's just a question mark on how these things actually work. And that's all well and good. That's fine. I love the idea of science. I love that. I'm super subscribed to it. My idea, the only thing I don't see how, in what world we would be, living in the physical, separated by a thin veil of, a whole wacky world of demons and angels and other creatures, frolicking around or fighting or whatever. But that it's all one connected world that we live in. But that, first, our evolution never deemed it necessary to develop a sense or sight for these kinds of things. But also, were we even ever able to, even as humans, there are things that we know exist that we can't necessarily see or determine. There's a whole spectrum of light, for example, that humans can't see with the bare eye, UV light and things of the sort. So my point only being is that, it's entirely possible that there is a world of now. So that brings into the question that, okay, do entities exist that actually have free will or have some will of some sort, some characteristic that makes them living being creatures? And so I think that's the second part of what makes this difficult to follow, because, we only believe in carbon-based life. And I mentioned this earlier, and I'm not going to keep on yapping about it, but, the idea, and so too, also, what are even demons, or what even is the demonic? Some people, if this world exists, and a third portion, right quick, is that the human mind and the fundamental idea of consciousness is something that still eludes scientists as far as able to understand it, its origins, what it is, I guess, kind of made out of, where it comes from, and things like this. Other living creatures, they do have a form of sentience, but consciousness is different. And I'm not, whatever. I'll spend a whole lot of time, disparaging the differences between the two. But essentially, we all can, at least on a fundamental level, say that humans are different than other animals. We're different than plants and things. They may be able to interact with certain stuff, but that consciousness is inherently different than what other animals possess, such as sentience. So all this being said, the idea of forces unseen that do have an effect on the human mind, as far as, pushing us one way or the other way, we could look at it in a spiritual sense or with religious texts or whatever as a demonic force or as a whatever. But I think that, when you say, like, you ask, like, is the person the demon, or is it just demons that are in them and they can't make a choice, or is it like two separate things? And how does that work when someone has them when they are born or something like that? Following this line of thought, it would be incredibly easy to say that there are just, like, it could even be like a non-sentient just force, or a group of forces, whether they be ideals or thoughts that maybe the parent carried, or that generation carried, or that family line carried, with them, like Genghis Khan would have, in the concept of, like, aggression and murder and things like that, things like that are pent up, that as you give birth, your children then are, kind of imbued with this natural sense or this natural instinct of towards aggression, because it had such positive effects or whichever. And the same can be looked at as, like, non-positive effects, just things that the people that came before you really believed heavily in. So you can look at demons as almost like a sort of force that would have a very strong influence on what you see or how you would perceive things that would cause you to act. And so that being said, whether one side is right or the other side is right, following that train of logic, if in this world that I've created, a God exists, a God would be able to see these things and determine it. And if Jesus or any other religion that speaks of, angels or demons or anything of the sort, of that kind of spiritual plane, they would also use terms that would be able to be understood by, nearly prehistoric people who were just now figuring out how to deal with iron, in the physical sense. So that we would come up with terms like angels, demons, spirituality, things like that.
Okay. But hold on just a second. Time out. Because, all right, I understand what you're saying. And I actually do love the idea of the spiritual and physical, the thing that we're talking about, side by side. But you have to also remember that our culture, as we know it, growing up here in the US, maybe English derivatives or whatever, we are inherently taught to be less spiritual. But look at other cultures like, Japan, China, some of these other ones, some of the old ones. Look, their belief system, they are so much more spiritual than we are. Like from the get-go, like from thousands of years, they have embraced the spiritual aspect as well as the physical. That's why it's so easy for them to, talk about things like the jinn or, shapeshifters and all. Like their culture is so intertwined with the physical, with the spiritual. But our culture is not. Yeah. So they have always embraced them. We don't. So we have compartmentalized so much that we're like, okay, it's all about the physical. But, we're young. What do we know? We're babies in this history.
Yeah, I guess to me, it's just like they're all just like concepts, but if they're, I don't know. I just feel like they would have more substance if they're somewhat measurable. You know what I mean? Like, or you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's like just saying someone is demonic or, is like, it's just like the same thing as saying they're bad. It's like, why? Like they're demonic. How? Like what? Like what demonic qualities? Like what are they doing? Like how are they acting? Like, or I don't know. It's like, I don't know. You would expect a demon to cause some kind of havoc in the world or some. You know what I mean? Like so you would in the same sense you would assume that someone that's going out there and murdering someone at least is somewhat possessed by a demon or something. Or at least has that possession of a demon. Like a demon being some like devilish quality, like which could be, I don't know, a lot of different things. But
well, yeah, but I think in other cultures this kind of thing is measured more. We don't measure it. We don't even talk about it. Really.
Well, they're not measured using scientific tools with like joules or newtons or anything like that. One thing so I was cut off a little bit before I got to the grand finale of the point, so I'm going to abandon that entirely and just go with a fun thought experiment.
Okay.
If human consciousness is apart from animals and has its own will or own self-sustained power source in a way, right? Like it has its own driving factors. If human consciousness is above instinctual level decision making, and that's, you'd have to kind of agree on that to go with the second part. But I believe that. I think that human beings are fundamentally different than just instinctual beings or animals or whichever. And if that's true, the way
we would be ants if we weren't, but we have a brain that can reason and logic and make some, creative thoughts and
cool. Yeah. All right.
Stupid
okay. So
decisions.
That too. Yeah. And in my case, sometimes more than the previous. But anyway, so okay, that's cool. So the concept of demons would then be more along the lines of a separate, almost like a separate consciousness, but not even necessarily. It would be more like something that weighs on that weighs on that person, and that the determination of that person to go that direction or to maintain their own will would be what makes what makes someone more demonic or something like that. You know, and if you even follow the concept that we're all born into sin, then, you know, that's going to be like a default, whether or not you're possessed or not, you know,
Right.
but, yeah, so that's just the point. It's not that there's like it's not necessarily that there's like a monster living within you or that you lose control of your actions. It's just that there is it almost works the same way that instincts do. It's just a force that pushes on your decision making, and that without your own choice to move away from that, it can start to be a guiding force. It can be something that kind of pushes you forward, even without you knowing it. And I think that's another thing with, are we formed by the world around us? In some cases, yes, people are. And in some cases, people don't necessarily feel like they have a choice, and it wouldn't even be considered fair. But yeah, I mean, that's basically just the concept of it, at least, or at least how that would work. And the, Officer Grayson's case, if this is all now very highly theoretical, right? But if he responded so aggressively because he was told that he was rebuked in Jesus' name or whatever, following this logic, it would mean that he had for so long subscribed or essentially kind of let go of the reins of his own will, that this other kind of somewhat sentient or maybe even somewhat conscious force has begun to take control of the situation, or of this motor function guided human person. And if that being has a sentience or a consciousness and is affected by an opposing force, like, the lore would suggest, being that Jesus is, against evil forces or whatever, then the concept of it all would mean that Grayson kind of has minimized, and that this demonic force is more present, and that when it is reached conflict in a way that deals with it directly, the whole machine, or the person, the body of Officer Grayson, would have a fight or flight response, because the actual dominating force of this person's psyche would be under attack. Whereas if it were even or more, whichever else, there would be more internal combating before a decision is reached. But at a certain point, and you could even look at it and say that he was certainly demonically influenced because of all of it, whatever, if you want to look at it that way. You could say that theoretically, at this point in time, Officer Grayson's, control over his own decisions was probably a lot lower. And, being now that when confronted directly in this lore, the machine, the body of Grayson, the whole circumstance would have immediately reached that biological fight or flight response. But again, that's all theory.
Or he could have a demon that was insulted and triggered him.
That's basically what I said.
Yeah, I mean, simply put, and that's why was he triggered because somebody brought up the name of Jesus, and all of a sudden he got angry. The demonic factor came out. Well,
because if you're a demon or whatever in this concept, you're not going to be afraid if like physical things that threaten you. You're not going to be afraid at if you are a conscious demon, then you don't even live in this world. If you're a conscious demon, then even if the host dies, you go somewhere else, you still live. It's not like their livelihood or their living is, you existing is contingent on that person being alive. Sorry. So,
no, but they're not.
So the difference happens, right? So, but what the difference happens is when there is an actual threat to that demon or whatever, and then that changes everything. And in this concept, if Grayson is less and this demon is kind of essentially taking control, or Grayson is like, stop, trying to fight against it or anything like that, or even agrees with it, whatever, I don't know. It doesn't matter. In this case, then yeah, even if the person isn't like a priest or something, just using that name and this again, and the whole lore of the situation, then the demon itself would feel incredibly threatened, because that's the thing that can kill it or whatever. So, yeah. I mean, I just like that. I mean, that's an interesting concept to think about.
Yeah. Where are you at on it, Colton?
What do you think about that? That verbal jutsu.
No, I get it. I have a hard time staying connected because I just don't work like that. To me, yes.
That's fair. That's fair.
To me, it's like if things don't have some kind of like physical reaction, like then there's no way to measure it, then it's just all imagination, or just like if there's no way to like just like the way you would say like, okay, my house is haunted because my doors keep opening and closing and my lights keep turning off. It's like you have something to measure it by, like something physical, like the same, and that's what I'm talking about. Like if you were trying to measure the demonic presence in somebody, how would you do that? Besides.
Okay, but can you measure your own soul? Do you believe you have your eternal soul? But you can't measure it.
Well, I mean, in an overall sense, my brain isn't big enough to do that, but like I'm just not smart enough. But I would certainly find it possible because I can judge myself in certain areas. Like, I mean, like, say how honest are you, or like how. Or, how much do you, I don't know. There's certain like measurements, I could somewhat think about, like how much hate do I have in my heart? I could think about that, and if I thought about it for long enough, I could come up with a somewhat answer, like, and it might not be accurate, but, it's
right
relative, really. So, I don't know. To me, that's, I don't know.
So, okay.
Like when you think about a miracle, you think like there's something that happened physically that's like, this guy
got
healed or they didn't die or they didn't die when they should have, or, it's like, there's some like reaction, of.
Well, let me do this then, or let me say, how am I saying? Let me do this. You're an experiment. No, that's not the way I meant to say that. Let me start over. So you mentioned that when Hitler was they did studies on him that they determined that the propensity or the ability of someone to go from reasonably okay to very evil is like a short distance. So that would mean that people are either very easily swayed or inherently predisposed to evil. Is that reasonable?
I don't know. That's also a hard thing to. It's also a hard thing to argue. Wait, ask it one more time. Ask the beginning of the question one more time. I'm sorry.
So you said that they determined that the amount of you said that they determined that it's very easy for people to become like, almost crazy evil. Do you think that people are inherently evil then because it is such a short switch to flip?
I don't know. I mean, you could also make the argument it's easy to go either way, like but it's all like relative, it's like what is good, it's like because like maybe you help out someone homeless, or these people, these YouTubers, that go around and they they help out homeless people, and they like blah blah blah, give them.
But it has a motive.
Yeah, they're recording the whole thing and they're getting millions of views. You know what I mean? Like, and so maybe they're not such a good person after all. So it's like in a way, it's relative. It's hard to, but and then again, it's not. That's why we have like laws. Because like those things aren't that. Those things aren't really. I guess you could say arguable. Like should you kill somebody? No. Like so. I don't know. I mean. That's why, like, is someone born like evil? That would imply that they aren't human, like they don't have the ability to do anything but
no,
evil.
No, not at all. Just because you have, I mean, you still have free will.
If you're saying someone is born pure evil, and then they have no, but I don't think that's possible. I think
no, I don't think so either. No.
Or okay, let me put it a different way. Do you think that people are born with a heavier weight on the evil scale or whatever.
I think people
That
are
I
born
do
with
think, yeah.
psychological predispositions and also like just environmental and cultural differences, you know? I mean, like there's a lot of different, you know, like me with the same exact brain, I would probably be a whole lot different if I was born 100 years ago, like across the world, you know, like I would be a whole different person and have different views and, you know, like even with the same brain, you know, like and predispositions like psychologically just because of those. But you think about all the, you know, people are born like, I don't know, with, you know, like real psychological conditions. They might not even the most serious ones, just every little, you know, ADHD, you know, might cause someone to be polar opposite of what they could have been without it. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many factors. That's why the only way to really judge how evil or possessed someone is you can't, you know, like you can't do that. Maybe they could to a degree, but not even they could, you know. It's like only God could judge me, you know, because maybe he's the only one who could even understand how to, you know.
Sure, yeah. Okay, then, all right. So you said earlier that you believe that people do have like consciousness, that they are like at least intellectually above animals, that there is something to do with the human mind that is far and above you know, the reactions that animals or trees or whatever have, that to our understanding isn't even particularly measurable. At least, you know, like how what is consciousness and is it something you can have more or less of, you know? But that at the end of the day, consciousness is present in humans. You agree with that?
Yeah, no, I would agree. There's a lot of things that we can't explain that certainly don't.
Right, and I'm not asking like pointed questions.
Because you know every you know, like you could ask what it means to believe in something, you know, and that's, you know, like Jordan's famous quote, you know, that's just as questionable as the question itself, you know, like the word believe, you know. So it's like everything we have is based on what science we do have, and that doesn't make science implausible. That just makes science misunderstood or not fully understood, or, you know, and to me, I don't, like, I live and wake up in a physical world every day, and that's the only way I can explain things, and I can imagine things, but it's the same way I can, you know, like that Elon believes we're in a simulation, you know, like maybe we're in a computer game or something, I don't know. But you know, it's like you can humor the thought, but to me it's a waste of time to think about, because it's like, what evidence do I have, you know, like what, you know, like besides, you know, what I can see around me, you know, and feel, and maybe I can take other people's words for of advice, but you know, like that only gets you so far, and if you do that too much, you won't be very smart.
True. So, the only real question that I was really trying to get to was that, do you believe that people only exist as a binary input output, or is there some other is there some otherwise unknown or unmeasurable force that also makes a person? Because obviously a lot of, you know, theology,
like a conscious or spiritual, like it's all
anything
to me, they're one and the same as far as like.
Right. No, all I'm saying is that, or all I'm really asking is that, you know, there's a couple of schools of thought that would say that, you know, a person put in a particular environment is kind of only going to do one thing, like whatever the path that they're on, you know, gives them. They may have small choices, like, you know, if they.
I mean, people have like personality differences, or you could call it like psychological or whatever, you know, like some people are like,
but that's part of the equation,
you know, like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
so you know, theoretically that's part of the soup that's put together by external forces.
You can certainly, like, in certain situations, like, say if you're born into a terrorist group, you know, like, you know, you can pretty much guarantee that's what you're going to be doing, you know, like whether you want to or not, you're going to hold those beliefs. So
So you do so you're saying that you are more inclined to believe that people are binary then, that it's kind of just a product of the situation around you, and you know brain chemistry and just all those things in general. That as a person's born, they would live the same life that a cat might live. They're born in an area.
I do see it as binary, but not like an unmeasurable, like too large scale to measure like binary.
Like too many external forces to actually determine whether or not there is a different force.
Yeah.
That's fair. And if that's, if that's the way that you feel, then it would certainly be difficult to imagine a person, as the other school of thought, like a person or a consciousness within somebody with free will. Because if at that point, the concept of free will doesn't even exist because the person doesn't necessarily exist.
It does, but like me, for example, the way I think is not, is based on, like, I noticed all the time, like, things I think are, like, things I learned from other people, you know what I mean? Like, and I've questioned them, to a certain degree that I feel comfortable, like, believing them, but, like, I'm.
But why did you do that?
That's just because maybe I'm not a very creative person, like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, no, I mean, it's not a problem. It's not like that's a limiting factor, I think because there's a propensity to be, just the same way that people think about not aliens, angels and demons is the same reason that, like, they might just be, very creative people that start to live in a world where they, feel that, see that kind of thing. But then to other people, they'll argue to the death that they believe these things because they experienced them firsthand, that they saw undeniable proof. Or that they felt it, or they've seen it, or they've seen it in a repeatable measure too many times to say that it isn't true, but that they don't, necessarily know what all is entailed.
Okay, well, let me tell you a story, okay? Because I think this is where the physical and spiritual meet. Now, this comes from a person that I have known for years and years, and she's very practical, I guess. I mean, she's very spiritual, as you'll see in this story, but she's also very practical and down to earth, okay? Not one of these hyper religious people at all. And she told me this story. She is from New York, and like I said, we've been friends forever. When she was, and she's from Long Island. When she was there, she was working in a I don't know. I think she was in a glasses. She was I can't remember what the word for it is. But anyway, she did that. And one day, these men came into her place of business, and they told them all to get in the back. Obviously, they were armed. They had weapons. Told them all, put all the employees in the back room. And she said, and she's kind of a more of a scary person, not as confrontational, not like me. But they put them all in the back room, and then, they're standing there with the weapons, and they tell them all to take their clothes off. At this point, something in her, now she's a Christian, something in her gets very angry at this point, okay? Because she was young, and, like, she didn't have any, like, kind of physical relations with anybody, and she's like, that's what triggered her, like, oh no, it's not gonna happen this way. And I get that. So she got very, very angry, and she said, all of a sudden, I felt like the Holy Spirit just rise up, like it wasn't even me talking. And she basically did the same thing that Sonya Massey did, but, well, Sonya Massey wasn't aggressive, and my friend was, but she stuck her finger in the faces of these guys and said, I either rebuke you or I bind you in Jesus' name. And she said the one that was the main one holding the gun, she said his gun started to shake a little bit, like just you know, and she just kept on praying, and she kept on binding and telling them to leave. And finally, she said he got so very nervous, and all of a sudden, he just unlocked the door and they went out. They ran out the front door. Of course, they called the police, and in the course of the police investigation, the police were kind of dumbfounded, because she was very vocal, and this is what happened, as the witnesses, her coworkers, were also. And they told her this particular, when they caught them, they said this group of people have done this several times, in which the victims were assaulted, sexually assaulted, and murdered. Okay? And the police were like, I cannot believe that they actually ran out of here. And she was trying to witness to the police and telling them, like, hey, it's not me, it's Jesus. I mean, in a case like that, that is measurable. What you're saying, Colton, about miracles and whatever. In a case like that, that is definitely measurable for people who have committed these crimes and then faced with that confrontation.
The thing that's so frustrating.
This sounds similar to tonight's story. That's all I was gonna say.
Well, it was, but this happened in probably in the 80s. Probably in the, I don't know. I don't know. She was older than me, but I mean, I'm guessing it was in the early 80s that this happened on Long Island.
I don't know. From my experience, I think I just like as long as I've tried to like find an answer, either way, I feel that it's probably just more a thing of experience, so like that, like if I were to have an experience like that, it would mean a whole lot.
Yeah, and
that to me.
Right, and that's kind of like the frustratingly difficult thing about the whole concept of Christianity in the first place, is that in order to have things like that happen, you have to have faith. But most people are like, I don't know how to have faith until I've seen evidence that this is even real. In a lot of cases,
right.
You can't have faith, until you've had an experience already. So or you don't even believe it. You won't even believe in God until you've had experience already. So that's the thing. Is I love stories like that. Now, in my case, I haven't had a story like that happen to me, but I've had something small happen that led me. I had something small happen that gave me enough faith for the next thing to happen, and then that gave me enough faith for the next thing to happen. And so like, because before that, like, why would anyone believe in any of it? Because it's just what somebody else said. Just someone else said that God is XYZ, real, cares, anything. It's just something that someone said until it happens. And that, like I said, I think that's the ironically super frustrating thing is that it's almost like it takes faith to be able to be in a position where you can have faith, and especially for someone who doesn't have like much mysticism at all, that's got to be like the most like infuriating thing to deal with on the face of the earth, I would imagine.
I mean, I don't know. Go ahead, Colt.
Yeah, I could go off on that, but that's a whole different topic. Well, I don't.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. See, I don't know. I feel like that's going to open up a whole nother can of worms, basically.
I mean, I don't know where you're going, but I am friends to this day with this person, and it's not like she has a ton of stories like this. She has a couple, but she is very, like I said, very rational person. Not prone to exaggeration or anything like that. I've known her forever now. And when we talk, it's not usually, it's not about necessarily things like this. It's just, regular conversation. So,
Yeah.
I know her to be very believable.
I think what's hard about the I have to see it to believe it mindset is that you can hear all the stories in the world, even from people that you trust. I have a buddy who has told me some things that I can't even really imagine, but I know him also. Like, I also know him very well.
Right.
He's not the type of person who would fabricate a story, and he had no reason to fabricate a story, and he's not mentally unstable where he could have imagined such a story. You get to know somebody in a way where you know that, you know, they are sound mentally. And so the things that they're telling you, to them at least, it was real. And you hear something that you cannot believe because you have no idea, like you can't even fathom how it could have been so that this is what happened. But you know the person well enough to also not be able to believe that they would even have misinterpreted something like this. And it catches you in this really difficult situation where you can just shelve it sometimes and just be like, I don't know what to make of this, you know? But then, you know, some people's like me, like, you know, maybe it's because I'm altruistic, or maybe it's because when I trust somebody, I really trust them. But, you know, as incredulous as some of these stories are, I just choose to believe it. And I add it to my repertoire, my knowledge bank of things that could be connected to something else, because I don't see any reason why this could have not. I don't see any reason why this would have been false, despite it breaking the laws of physics and me not having experienced it myself, because I know the person well enough to know that this is not any other circumstance. This wasn't imagined. This wasn't a slight, like a momentary cerebral seizure or something. This is not something he would have made up for clout. This is not a story he would have told because he wanted to be cool or anything. Like, there's no motive or causality that would have caused him to fabricate something like this. So I just simply
that's
believe
the way
it.
that she is too, you know.
But
yeah.
You know, but then again too, you know, there is a lot of merit in only believing in things that you can prove or that are concrete, because then in the event that something does happen like that, you know, well, for one, it will set you on a whole path of like redefining everything that you know. But for two, it'll make everything that you do say have a lot more weight, because it isn't, you know, grabbed out of the air. It isn't grabbed out of creativity or imaginings. It's grabbed out of, you know, you have had to do this research yourself, and that there's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the thing that makes miracles when you experience them, when you observe them, is it is at that point that the physical and the spiritual meet. It's like, you know, when Jesus walked on water, you know, or the many miracles of the Bible, when there were witnesses, all of a sudden you see the laws of physics bend, or, you know, whatever. And that is that point. Miracles are that point where you have the two worlds collide. And for people who don't believe, you know, and I think that's why, you know, in the New Testament, when Jesus came back, and, you know, of course, a lot of the other disciples didn't have any problem believing, but Thomas did. He's like, when Jesus was resurrected and came back, Thomas is like, I don't know about all this. Like, I don't know if this is Jesus. And that's why he shows him the physical marks in his body. And he's like, you know, stick your fingers in these holes. It's all right. So, you know, I mean, because some people are just, and I don't think, you know, people call Thomas like doubting Thomas, like it's a bad thing. Like, oh, don't be a doubting Thomas. Where did you go, Bungler? You're in a tiny little spot.
Don't look. Just ignore it.
But I think that's the point, that, you know, people say, oh, well, Thomas was bad because he doubted. I don't think that was it. I think Thomas was more like Colton, and he was just like, okay, then I want to, you know, there's nothing wrong with questioning and saying, okay, if you're Jesus, then let me see your scars, and let me touch them. Let me, you know, I don't think it's a lack of faith. It's just like, you know, I want to see proof.
Yeah.
I mean, because we're all different. And maybe that's what it takes for some people. Obviously, that's what it took for Thomas, and it doesn't make him a bad person or stupid or anything like that. It's just like that's the way
Probably makes
he
him
was built.
better in a lot of ways, because I think that's a big problem that people have. You know, I mean, that's even like a side effect of the paranoid schizophrenic type of deal. Is that who knows what kind of life she lived. Also, this is kind of unrelated. Is my cam like bugging and like low frames for you guys? Is that just on my screen?
No, it looks good.
Yeah,
Right.
it's fine.
I'll anyway. Who knows what kind of life this person may have lived up to the point where they developed like full on paranoid schizophrenia. That could have been something they were born with, but it also could have been something that they kind of almost deluded themselves into. You can follow a path for long enough where you start to not know what you believe. You can kind of lose your sense of self. Even so, who knows? I think it's very important to have foundational beliefs. Things that for sure you can believe, and then if something changes your mind, change it then. But
yeah. Well, I mean, just before I get to this, like the part about Thomas, you're right. In some ways, that makes it better because nobody can convince him for the rest of his life. Nobody's going to be able to doubt what he says. Like, he's going to be like, no, this ain't like I wasn't having a hallucination. Like when they say, oh, but did you really, see what you thought you saw? Yeah, because I stuck my hand, way down inside. Like, I experienced this, and you cannot, it's very, very difficult to renounce an eyewitness account. It's hard to refute when somebody's believable. So I think it does. Yeah, it would be interesting to know, Melanie, what the other cop that saw her say, I rebuke you, thought. Did his partner see or feel anything weird? It would be, we probably won't ever know. It would be nice if he'd talk at some point. But yeah, did he think that was weird? Had he ever seen Grayson do that before? Or was that, did he go off, at times like that? Had he ever encountered anything? I don't know. I know we've got to, it's been like 3.5 hours. I've got to end this stream. But,
well,
any last thoughts?
Let's at least wrap it up. So he has been indicted on 3 counts of first-degree murder and battery, and
3 counts.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. If he has a good lawyer, Well, I have my own opinions on this too. This is irrelevant. If he has good lawyers, it'll probably get dropped down to 1 charge, and then he might get. I don't know.
I don't know. They're still protesting out there. Like, there are protests going on every day.
We'll see. I feel like if he does, he'll probably get killed in prison to begin with, just because he's a cop, and because it's such a big case. Everybody's gonna know him.
Yeah.
But on top of that, wait, I forgot what I was saying. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, you're talking about it reducing down to 1 charge. I think the 3 charges would be like, probably murder 1. I don't think it would be manslaughter. I think that would be murder. I think they're going to say it was premeditated, even though it was a short time. But it's going to be murder, assault. Yeah, I think those felonies are going to be, I don't know if they'll drop it down, but But yeah, he's definitely going to be somebody's girlfriend in prison. There's no doubt about that.
Well, hopefully justice is served.
Yeah. If he gets, and I'm glad they're still protesting, and I'm glad that they are keeping this alive, and I want to keep it alive as much as I can. Because I think this is one of those cases that are so clearly, I mean, it's not like this isn't a case where you can say, well, but blah, 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 maybe this, maybe that. No, this is a very clear-cut case of not just breaking protocol, but, in my opinion, it was murder one. I mean, there's no defense for his actions in my opinion, and I think he should get life without.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
There's a good chance that he'll end up seeing the streets again, though.
Maybe. I hope not. He doesn't need to be out for this. I mean, I know our justice system isn't always just, but
it's always is.
Yeah. Any last thoughts, Bungler?
I've talked too much to have anything left to say. I've said basically everything that could have feasibly been said, as far as I know, at least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it was very interesting. It was really interesting for me, knowing that y'all had a little bit of knowledge, but you hadn't like really seen the full body cam. It was very interesting to me to see your reactions after I played that. I think it wasn't just a news report that had clips here and there. To see the actual thing, I think you all kind of had that devastated look, like, I can't believe this is, that this happened this way. And
this is the way that it happened, especially.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you always hope that the cops are supposed to be, that's like the only force that is on your side against, interpreted evil and threats and stuff like that. So to live in a world where it's just incredibly painfully ironic that the only thing that could save you or protect you in a situation like that is the same force that's causing the issue.
Right.
So
right.
That is a heavy world to live in, kind of.
Yeah. It's terrible. And I mean, they're saying justice for Sonya and for Sonya Massey. I agree. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe there'll be an update that,
Pardon me for being so assertive, but I think the only form of justice would be that, someone shoot him. I mean, honestly, there's
Yeah, but I can tell you this, and I mean, honestly, I'm not, I don't know. I go back and forth on how I feel on the death penalty. I really don't, I vacillate, but I don't know what Illinois has. I don't know if they have the death penalty, but I do tend to having worked in jail, and prisons are way worse than where I work. I would say it's actually probably a worse sentence to have life without a chance of parole. It is a horrible life. Yes, you're still living, but yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I think it's probably more of a punishment, life without, than the actual death penalty.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because those guys get the most respect in jail, though. Like it seems like people don't mess with them as much. Not always the case, but not as much often, because the people people that do in life, like that, they know that they can kill them, and not really have any consequences,
That is true. There is that part of it. There's no, like, what are you going to do? I'm already in here for life. You can't, I mean, you can put 100 more charges on me, but it's not going to change anything. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I've
You're
always
right.
wondered, that's so frustrating then, why people are like, yeah, he's going to serve 2 consecutive life sentences. Like, well, do they know a necromancer? Do they have like a wizard in the back? And when he turns old and gray and 90, he's going to got like a forced reincarnation.
Back.
Yeah, they have a forced reincarnation program. They have prison children that are born, and then they raise them. They're like, well, actually, in your last life, you killed somebody, so you're in here all again. Good luck. Good luck to you.
I don't know, but it is. It's a bad situation either way. All right, thank y'all so much for being here, and it was a very interesting discussion. We went the full gamut on.
Well, my favorite part about talking about things that aren't really pop culture-esque as far as like spirituality or whatever is that especially
sorry,
especially with Colton here, because he's very reasonable, and I think that's incredibly important.
So and it's your playground. So there you go.
Well, like I said, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we covered like every aspect, the physical, the mental, the spiritual, like everything on this case. So, all we can do is see what happens.
And if you're not watching now, then just know that we appreciate it.
And like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I always forget to say that. Yeah, I get way more people on the replay, and this, this is a long one, but I mean, we covered it.
I'll be honest, if you've been listening to this for 3 hours and 42 minutes and haven't liked the video, then you had better at least comment and tell us why, because I'd love to talk about that too. But no, really though, this has been really fun for me, and I've really enjoyed. Despite the heavy nature of this subject, this isn't exactly quite like talking about aliens or other things like that. This is a very real, very tragic incident that occurred, and I hope that at the very least that we were respectful about it, and I do hope that some real sense of justice.
Prayers for the family too that have to live in the same area. I mean, like, I can't imagine. Prayers for the family, justice, all of that stuff. All right, y'all. I will talk to you later. And again, thank you for hanging in there. And whatever you do, just stay silky, okay?
I love that I've gotten Colton to laugh twice at that now.